Chapter 8:13. Ningqing arrived at the Sacred Light City alone. The Sacred Light City still looked magnificent and huge. Outside the Sacred Light City, Ningqing could not feel any restriction or array formation. But after Ningqing entered the Sacred Light City, he immediately felt layers upon layers of entrapment arrays. He secretly rejoiced that he did not choose to meet Manjuran in Sacred Light City. Otherwise, even if he brought out the 5-colored star-splitter arrow and injured the 9th prince, Shen Mingyan might not have been able to escape from Sacred Light City. Not to mention Shen Mingyan, even Chuan Xinluo, and the others would find their hands and feet tied under the layers of restrictions around Sacred Light City. As for setting up a one-way teleportation in Holy Light City, it was impossible. Sacred Light City was like a dead city. Apart from the fact that the buildings were more complete than Mai City, there was almost no difference between it and the dilapidated Mai City. Moreover, the buildings in Holy Light City were not in the form of streets at all. Instead, they were made up of altars. Ningqing understood that Manjuran had deliberately built this place to refine the mysterious Yellow Starland. As for why Manjuran wanted to refine the mysterious Yellow Starland and even turn this place into a dead zone, Ningqing couldn't figure it out. After entering the Sacred Light City, Ningqing did not see anyone here. The people who stayed here must have left as well. Along the way, Ningqing destroyed all the entrapment arrays in the Sacred Light City, and soon arrived at the heart of the Sacred Light City. There was a 9-emperor peak here, which should be the hub where Manjuran refined the entire mysterious Yellow Starland. Ningqing only knew that a powerhouse could refine a starland. As for how to refine it, he had never come into contact with it. Regardless of whether he would do such a thing or not, Ningqing had to go to this 9th Emperor's Peak to have a look. The restrictions around the 9 Emperor's Peak were densely packed. Ningqing was just in case there were still people in this place. As such, he constantly dropped down array flags on the way up the 9 Emperor's Peak. The 9th Emperor's Peak was a lot higher than the Sacred Light City. As such, Ningqing had to be very careful, coupled with throwing out array flags along the way. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he finally arrived at the top of the 9th Emperor's Peak. At the top of the 9th Emperor's Peak, Ningqing unexpectedly saw a woman. Everyone had left, but there was still a woman chained here. What made Ningqing puzzled was that he knew this woman. It was the silver-haired woman with a dignified appearance whom Manjuran had brought to Mai City. However, at this time, she was chained to the altar at the top of the 9th Emperor Peak. She looked very strange. When this silver-haired woman saw Ningqing coming over, her eyes also revealed some doubts. However, she did not speak. Ningqing remembered that this woman, along with Yu Yuechen and another seductive woman, had besieged Yi Jiufeng. It stood to reason that she was one of 9th Prince Manjuran's people, so how could she be locked up? There was an empty space in the middle of the altar in front of the woman, as if something had been taken away. Ningqing walked over and carefully examined it. Only then was he convinced that someone had taken away something from this place. Who took the things here? Ningqing looked back at the silver-haired woman and asked. The silver-haired woman didn't answer Ningqing's words. Instead, she asked, "Did you finally join Manjuran?" "That Manjuran doesn't have enough face for me to join him. Moreover, I'm the one asking you now, not you asking me." Ningqing spoke with a sarcastic tone. The silver-haired woman looked at Ningqing in doubt before speaking. "Yes, there was a life force plate here, but it was taken away by Ku Sheng." "Who is Ku Sheng? What is the life force plate?" Ningqing asked. The silver-haired woman replied, "You've seen it before. It's that thin cultivator. He came here and said that the 9th prince wanted him to take away the life force plate. The life force plate is a top-grade treasure that can absorb the life force of any living creature, or even a planet." Ningqing felt shocked when he heard this. He finally understood why the mysterious Yellow Starland's life force had dissipated, and was about to disappear. It turned out to be the life force plate. Such a heaven-defying thing that could absorb all life force. Just how powerful was it? From the looks of it, Manjuran most likely wanted to refine the mysterious Yellow Starland on the surface, but in fact, he wanted to extract all the life force in this place. From this, one could imagine that everyone who stayed in the mysterious Yellow Starland should have already died. With all their life force sucked away, it would be strange if they could still survive. This Manjuran's actions were truly vicious and insidious. Kuxing took away the life force plate, but he didn't kill you? Ningcheng looked at the silver-haired woman with some suspicion. The silver-haired woman froze for a moment after hearing Ningcheng's words. But she immediately understood and spoke with a trembling voice. You mean you killed Manjuran and Kuxing came here to steal the life force plate? If Kuxing didn't come here to steal the life force plate, and really came here on orders, why would he kill her? Only if the other party killed Manjuran and Kuxing betrayed the ninth prince, would he kill her when he stole the life force plate. It seems that this silver-haired woman didn't know about Manjuran being slapped away by Pan Qian. The silver-haired woman didn't wait for Ningcheng to answer. She understood the general situation and quickly said, Please let me go. I will repay you. Manjuran caught me, and what he wants is my essence blood. According to reason, Manjuran is our common enemy. It's not difficult to save you, and I believe you. But you haven't told me why Kuxing didn't kill you. Instead, people would know that he took away the life force plate. Ningcheng spoke with a calm voice. The silver-haired woman dragged the chain and stood up. She looked at Ningcheng and said, Because he doesn't dare to kill me. As long as he kills me, he will die without a doubt. Not to mention him, even Manjuran wouldn't dare to kill me now. Besides, he took away the life force plate, which is easy to guess. He can't hide it even if he wanted to. This silver-haired woman was only in the eternal realm, and her cultivation was sealed. After seeing the situation clearly, Ningcheng nodded. I can let you go, but you have to answer a few questions for me. First, what is the origin of Manjuran? Second, where does he come from? The silver-haired woman replied without hesitation. His father is a powerhouse with more than 100 sons. Manjuran ranks 9th. As for his origin, you wouldn't know it even if I told you. The place he came from is called the Grand Essence Sea. Ningcheng murmured. Grand Essence Sea? Is it a place in the Grand Essence realm? Is it a sea dragon king? Huh, you know about the Grand Essence realm? The silver-haired woman asked in surprise. Ningcheng didn't answer the silver-haired woman's question. Instead, he grabbed a handful of array flags and threw them out. Then, he brought out the celestial rainbow purgatory spear and shot at the chain that locked the silver-haired woman. This silver-haired woman was trapped by a trapping array. As for the chain that locked Pan Qian, it wasn't worth mentioning at all. With just a single spear strike, Ningcheng had broken the chain. With Ningcheng unlocking the trapping array and breaking the chain, the silver-haired woman instantly regained her freedom. She raised her hand to her glabella, and then spat out a mouthful of filthy blood. With this mouthful of filthy blood, the silver-haired woman's aura grew stronger. Her body trembled slightly, and the remaining chain around her turned into slag and fell to the ground. Thank you for saving me. I'm going back now. This is for you. After restoring her cultivation, the silver-haired woman sighed, and a talisman appeared in her hand out of thin air. At the same time, she took out a ring and handed it to Ningcheng. You're also from the Grand Essence realm. Can this talisman break through the interface and go back? Ningcheng didn't take the ring from the silver-haired woman. Instead, he looked at the talisman in the silver-haired woman's hand and asked in doubt. The silver-haired woman said, I'm from the Grand Essence realm, and this talisman can break through the interface. However, this talisman can't take me back. It can only bring me closer to home. The Grand Essence realm and this place are two different positional planes. Ordinary talismans can't break through it. Ningcheng took in a deep breath and said, I don't want your ring. Can you give me one of these talismans? After seeing Manjuran's group and talking to Pan Qian, Ningcheng understood that even if his cultivation reached the peak of the Eternal Realm one day, or even reached Dao-confirming realm like Chuan Xinluo, he would still be an ant. In this vast and boundless universe, he would still be an ant. If he wanted to become stronger, he had to go to the 5 Grand Realms. He couldn't go to the Grand Change Realm. But now that the silver-haired woman said that she had a talisman close to the Grand Essence Realm, if he could get one, he might have some hope in the future. The silver-haired woman looked at Ningcheng in doubt. The ring she gave him contained many good things, enough to benefit Ningcheng a lot. But she didn't expect Ningcheng to not want the ring, and only wanted a talisman. In fact, this talisman was indeed more precious than the ring. But it was useless to Ningcheng. She thought about it, and took out a talisman and handed it to Ningcheng. I only have 3 of these talismans. Since I promised you, then I'll give you one. Goodbye. After saying that, the talisman in the silver-haired woman's hand turned into a ray of light that tore through space, wrapped up the silver-haired woman, and disappeared without a trace. Ningqing looked at the talisman in his hand that exuded Dao charm. He then carefully took out a jade box and put away the talisman. This talisman was much more advanced than the breaking boundary talisman he had obtained from Duan Gantai. After carefully checking the sacred light city, and making sure that no one was around, Ningqing used the time wheel to blast the sacred light city to the ground before leaving the mysterious yellow starland. Chapter 8:14. Ningqing had just returned to stately River Star when he met Yi Jiufeng waiting outside. Senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix, why are you here? Ningqing put away the starry sky wheel and asked in doubt. When Yi Jiufeng saw Ningqing, her face immediately showed a hint of relief. Senior apprentice Brother Ning, I knew you would be fine. That's why I've been waiting for you here after I've finished some things. Ningqing quickly spoke up. Senior apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix, please come to my mysterious yellow sect to talk. Staying outside is not the way to treat guests. Yi Jiufeng shook her head. Senior apprentice Brother Ning, I came here to say goodbye to you. I will leave after I finish speaking here. I will not enter the mysterious yellow sect. In fact, I was prepared to wait for another month. After a month, if Senior apprentice Brother Ning still hasn't returned, then I would also be planning to leave. Goodbye? Ningqing looked at Yi Jiufeng in doubt. He couldn't understand what Yi Jiufeng meant. Since Yi Jiufeng wanted to return to spirit heaven, there was no need for her to say goodbye to him. Although he and Yi Jiufeng had a good relationship, it wasn't to the point where he had to come over and say hello to her over such a trivial matter. Moreover, he had to wait for a few months. Yi Jiufeng understood Ningqing's doubts and gave out a sigh. I plan to leave this side of the starry sky. I've already handed over the Grand Spirit Heaven starry sky to others. Not only me, but leveled heart Heavenly Emperor, Qiao Jirui, and Zhangkong Tianji also left this place. If I am not wrong, it should be very difficult for them to come back. Including myself, once I leave, it will be very difficult for me to return. Is Heavenly Emperor Leveled Heart willing to leave Grand Culmination Starry Sky? I thought that he would not give up until he killed me. Ningqing spoke with a smile. Yi Jiufeng didn't ridicule Chuan Xinluo this time. Instead, she spoke up with a lonely tone. Compared to the vast law world, even if you dominate this place for countless eras, what can you do? In the past, we hid here and fought with each other, but we were just frogs in a well. Now that we know there are higher planes of laws, we don't even need to prove our Tao to go there. Who would still be willing to stay here? The 5 Grand Realms? Ningqing immediately understood. Who would want to stay here and enjoy their retirement if they knew about the 5 Grand Realms? Among those who could cultivate to the level of Chuan Xinluo and Yi Jiufeng, which one of them wasn't a wise person with a brilliant mind? This kind of person would definitely not stay here and wait for death after knowing that there was a stronger plane. 5 Grand Realms? Yi Jiufeng repeated in doubt before saying, I don't know. Take a look at this. After Yi Jiufeng finished, she took out a crystal stone and put it in Ningqing's hand. Ningqing held the crystal, and immediately felt a higher grade of essence spirit qi. Even the pure permanent essence pills couldn't compare to it. He looked at Yi Jiufeng in shock and asked, what kind of crystal is this? Ningqing thought that if he used this crystal stone for cultivation, he would be able to reach the late-stage eternal realm in a much shorter time. At the same time, he wouldn't need to spend a lot of time in seclusion. These are the crystals used for cultivation in their place. These things are as common as ordinary starry sky crystals in our place. Even the various Tao fruits are not rare in their world. Yi Jiufeng spoke with a sigh. She thought back to the time when the few of them went to the ancient Shadow Temple together. Chuan Xinluo had obtained a Tao fruit, and even succeeded in reaching Tao confirming realm with this Tao fruit. His achievements far surpassed the 3 of them. You mean the place where the 9th prince is? Ningqing returned the crystal stone to Yi Jiufeng and asked, take this crystal stone, I still have a few more. Yi Jiufeng pushed the crystal stone back to Ningqing and said, yes, the person who gave us the crystal stone and traded with us is called Ku Sheng. Chuan Xinluo severely injured Ku Sheng, and to save his life he traded a lot of starry sky spirit grasses with us. At the same time, it also showed us that we were just frogs in a well and had shallow knowledge. Ningqing felt even more puzzled. Wasn't Chuan Xinluo fighting Yi Mingyuan? Yi Jiufeng replied, I'm not as good as Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor. He pretended to be seriously injured and escaped during his fight with Yi Mingyuan. In fact, he didn't leave at all but hid outside the mysterious Yellow Starland. Zhangkong Tianji and Qiao Jierui, on seeing Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor escape, quickly rushed out of the mysterious Yellow Starland. Since the three of them left, I naturally wouldn't stay behind. Ku Sheng chased after them, but he didn't expect to get seriously injured by Leveled Heart Heavenly Emperor, who hid outside the mysterious Yellow Starland. Ku Sheng wanted to escape after getting seriously injured, but the four of us trapped him in the starry sky. He held an escape talisman in his hand and wanted to trade with us. He said that if we didn't trade, he would immediately break through the boundary and escape. Did he guide you to a high-level interface and even gave you a top-grade breaking boundary talisman? Ningqing asked. Yi Jiufeng nodded. Yes, he took out a top-grade breaking boundary talisman and said that he could use this talisman to get close to the positional plane they are in. In fact, I still don't understand why he didn't use this talisman to escape, but chose to trade with us. Was he afraid of that ninth prince? Ningqing didn't explain. He already knew why Ku Sheng wanted to trade with Yi Jiufeng and the others. Ku Sheng stayed with the ninth prince for the same purpose as Yu Yuechen, that life force plate. Since Ku Sheng stayed here with a purpose, he naturally wouldn't escape. It was laughable that the ninth prince thought that he had subdued these people, but he didn't expect that they all fancied his things. So if Chuan Xinluo and the others left, wouldn't you have no way to escape alone? Ningqing thought that there was only one talisman, and since Yi Jiufeng didn't leave with Chuan Xinluo and the others, she wouldn't be able to reach the Grand Essence Realm even if she wanted to. Yi Jiufeng smiled. I obtained an opening Heaven Child talisman in the ancient Shadow Temple. I didn't know what it was at first, but I know it now. My talisman is much better than Ku Sheng's talisman. I'm confident that I can find the way there. Then I wish Senior Apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix a smooth journey. Ningqing understood that Yi Jiufeng had made up her mind to leave. Yi Jiufeng spoke up. Senior Apprentice Brother Ning, I came here to tell you about this. But if you want to go together, you can come with me. That ninth prince has an unusual origin. Even if we escape, he won't give up in the future. Ningqing smiled. I won't leave for the time being. But Senior Apprentice Sister Nine Phoenix doesn't have to worry about it. That ninth prince's corporeal body has already collapsed. It would take him many years to recover. I suspect that ninth prince has already left this positional plane. I don't know where he is hiding to heal. What? Yi Jiufeng truly felt shocked this time. She wanted to leave to pursue strength, but at the same time, she also felt a little worried about the ninth prince finding her. But Ningqing said that he had severely injured the ninth prince to the point that even his corporeal body had disappeared. It was simply too outrageous. Yi Jiufeng naturally thought that Ningqing had injured the ninth prince severely. She didn't even know that Pan Qian existed. Is this true? Yi Jiufeng repeated the question in disbelief. Ningqing spoke with certainty. It's true. If you don't believe me, you can go to Sacred Light City and have a look. I raised the entire Sacred Light City to the ground. Many thanks, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. This time, I can finally feel at ease leaving Spirit Heaven. Yi Jiufeng's face lit up with joy as she spoke about leaving this side of the universe. Ningqing watched Yi Jiufeng leave and return to stately river stars-covered Snow City, with some disappointment. All the people he knew, whether they were enemies or friends, had left one by one. Although Ningqing knew that if he stayed here, he could only reach Dao confirming at most. But he couldn't leave yet. Even if he wanted to leave, he had to take Luofei and Ruolin with him. Moreover, he still had a few things to do. One was to go to the ancient Shadow Temple, and the other was to go into seclusion to study array formations. He had to become an array Dao master, and then go to the place where Yanji teleported away. Time flew by, and in a blink of an eye, 3 years had passed since Ningqing returned to stately River Star. During these 3 years, apart from cultivation, Ningcheng studied array formations and discussed the Tao of alchemy with Song Saiha. His cultivation also stabilized at the peak early stage eternal realm, only a step away from the middle stage eternal realm. But because of the lack of top-grade starry sky spirit grasses, his attainment in the Tao of alchemy remained stagnant, and he couldn't verify a bunch of theories. As for the array Tao master, Ningcheng knew that he needed time to accumulate. Ji Luofei occasionally came out to meet with Ningcheng for a few days, but she spent most of her time in seclusion. Ning Ruolan's cultivation was too low, so she spent all her time on cultivation. As for Ning Ruoqing, she still remained in seclusion. Ning Ruoqing's seclusion required too much starry sky essence spirit qi, so Ningcheng placed 10 star veins under her seclusion cave. But what puzzled Ningcheng was that Duan Gantai didn't come to find him. It stood to reason that Duan Gantai, who had suffered such a huge loss, should have gone crazy and come to settle accounts with him. Ningcheng had stayed in stately Riverstar for a few years, but he hadn't even seen Duan Gantai's shadow. It was as if this fellow had disappeared. After 3 years of consolidation, Ningcheng understood that his cultivation had already reached this point, and it would be difficult for him to take another step forward. He was different from others. Maybe other cultivators, as long as they accumulated enough time in seclusion, would eventually break through. But for Ningcheng, he couldn't wait that long. He didn't have that much time to accumulate enough time for cultivation. The fact that the 9th prince hadn't been killed left a hidden danger in his heart. If that fellow came to culmination heaven one day, no one here could stop him. Seeing that Ning Ruoqing showed no signs of waking up from her seclusion, Ningcheng said goodbye to Song Saiha again, and prepared to enter the ancient shadow temple alone. The ancient shadow temple had gray tut in it, and it was also in stately River Star. Ningcheng wouldn't leave this place with peace of mind if he didn't figure it out. Ningcheng's array formation restrictions had long since sealed the ancient shadow temple. Even if it wasn't far from covered snow city, no one could enter it except for Ningcheng. Ningcheng entered the ancient shadow temple once again. Just like before, it was still cold and gloomy. The black poisonous mist layered on top of each other, but the murderous aura here had weakened a lot compared to the last time. When Ningcheng first came here, the poisonous mist didn't affect him at all. Now that his cultivation and body forging had improved by a few levels, the poisonous mist couldn't affect him at all. Ningcheng soon arrived outside the Pentagonal Hall. After he escaped from this place, he had sealed it up. But now that he came here again, he found that the seal still remained, as if it hadn't been touched. Chapter 8:15. Ningcheng opened the seal and entered the Pentagonal Hall. The Pentagonal Hall did not look any different from when he left it. In the middle of the hall was a big dark hole, and below the hole was a pitch-black public square. Other than the occasional invasion of some winds, Ningcheng did not see any other abnormalities. After waiting for a while, and making sure that nothing had changed, Ningcheng turned around and sealed the entrance once again, before jumping down from the middle of the hall. Ningcheng's twin wings of the heavenly clouds had long since undergone nirvana, allowing his speed and teleportation capabilities to increase by several times compared to the past. Previously, he could always escape even if he could not beat them, so he naturally did not have to worry about it now. Moreover, Ningcheng suspected that this fellow below couldn't even rush out of the Pentagonal Hall of the ancient Shadow Temple. A sinister wind wreaked havoc in the plaza, and it was more than 10,000 times stronger than the one above. As a late-stage starry sky body cultivator, Ningcheng did not fear these nether winds. But just in case, he still brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort. The paper door in front of the plaza that had the words Hell's Gate written on it was blown by the chilly wind, and it was still rattling loudly. Ningcheng sucked in a deep breath, as he was secretly on guard, as he slowly walked over. Several violent gusts of wind finally converged together, and swept over with a whimpering sound. The nether wind immediately slammed into Ningcheng's everlasting blue thunder fort, causing the blue thunder fort's thunder light to overflow in all directions. The violent nether wind, under the impact of the thunder light, quickly began to dissipate. These violent nether winds, which could easily tear an eternal-level cultivator into pieces, posed no threat to Ningcheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. At this moment, Ningcheng truly realized his own progress. Initially, his everlasting blue thunder fort could also easily block these nether winds. However, after these nether winds swept over the everlasting blue thunder fort, he still felt a little uncomfortable. He had a feeling that his primordial spirit was about to leave his body, but now the effect on him could be said to be minimal. Ningqing pushed open the paper door and saw the dark yellow spring pond once again. The two doors on the opposite side of the yellow spring pond still had the words life and death written on them. Ningqing had already learnt from Yi Jiufeng and the others that one would end up dead after entering these two doors. Although he believed that if Chuan Xinluo could leave, then he could also leave. However, he didn't want to go inside right now. His main purpose in coming here was to find Grey Toot Toot, and also to see what kind of place the ancient Shadow Temple was. Ningqing directly used the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort's protection and jumped into the yellow spring pond. The cold inside the yellow spring pond was different from ordinary ice. It had a cold aura that could strip away one's essence spirit. Fortunately, after advancing to the eternal realm, Ningqing's essence spirit had become several times more stable compared to when he was in the life and death realm. Therefore, although the cold aura that stripped away his essence spirit still had some effect on him, it wasn't much. The everlasting Blue Thunder City broke through the black and gloomy waters of the yellow spring pond and sank much faster than before. In just a short time, Ningqing reached the bottom of the yellow spring pond. His everlasting Blue Thunder Fort did not compress much like the last time because of the yellow spring pond, which stripped away one's essence. Stepping on the dark red stone slabs of the yellow spring pond, countless mournful cries rang out around him. These voices were illusory and ethereal. Even if Ningqing's spiritual consciousness grew more than 10 times stronger than before, he still couldn't pinpoint where these voices came from. Ningqing walked all the way to the edge of the Blood River from the bottom of the yellow spring pond. The pale white stone arch bridge at the edge of the Blood River still looked the same as before, without any changes at all. The Blood River still roiled under the bridge. The 5 scribbled words "First Bridge of Coping" on the stone stele at the head of the bridge looked a bit blurry due to a dark red mist. Ningqing stopped next to the stone stele of the first bridge of Coping. Unlike the last time, he didn't feel Grey Toot Toot's aura this time. Ningqing walked to the middle of the bridge of Coping, but didn't see Grey Toot Toot, nor did he see the black stone man blocking the way. It seemed that after the last one he had destroyed, there were no more such nether soldiers here. A violent black nether wind suddenly swept over and rushed towards Ningqing as if it was alive. Boom! The nether wind slammed into the everlasting Blue Thunder City, and the thunder light exploded again. However, the everlasting Blue Thunder City's thunder light directly twisted the nether wind into nothingness. Ningqing's sea of consciousness felt a slight chill, but he didn't feel anything wrong. This made Ningqing feel relieved. After his sea of consciousness advanced to the eternal realm, even Chuan Xinluo couldn't compare to him. After the everlasting Blue Thunder City blocked the black nether wind, 7 or 8 more violent nether winds swept over. A whimpering sound penetrated the everlasting Blue Thunder City and tried to squeeze into Ningqing's sea of consciousness. Ningqing turned furious. He immediately brought out the celestial rainbow purgatory spear and rushed forward. At the same time, the everlasting Blue Thunder City once again stretched out and shot out a thicker and denser thunder light. When he was in the life and death realm, he could only protect himself when attacked by this nether wind. But now, he was no longer a life and death cultivator, who could only protect himself. The thunder light bombarded the black and violent nether wind, and the mournful whimpering sound grew even more intense. Coupled with the powerful spear intent from Ningqing's celestial rainbow purgatory spear, even the 7 or 8 violent nether winds dissipated under Ningqing's bombardment. Ningqing sped up and arrived at the opposite side of the stone arch bridge in a blink of an eye. A hollow voice emerged. "You killed my nether soldiers and stole my things. I didn't come looking for you, yet you dared to come to my territory, courting death." As soon as Ningqing heard this voice, he realized that this was the fellow who chased after him last time. Instead, he felt relieved. If this fellow truly had the confidence to kill him in seconds, he probably wouldn't have spoken so much nonsense. Clenching the celestial rainbow purgatory spear, Ningqing stepped out of the first bridge of Coping and snorted, "Don't play tricks in front of me. When you chased after me, I said that I would come back and repay you tenfold. Now that I'm back, use whatever means you have. Otherwise, I will turn this place into nothingness." After Ningqing finished speaking, he raised his hand and shot out 2 time wheels. The time wheels rolled up bursts of Dao charm of time, and swept out with a gray light. Everything in the way of the time wheels turned into nothingness. Under the faint gray light of the time wheels, Ningqing could see the scene on the other side of the bridge of coping without using his spiritual consciousness. It was a land of rubble, mixed with some uneven black mounds, with pale bones and dark ash everywhere. As the time wheels swept through this rugged place, everything in front of him instantly turned into a flat river, without even the slightest protrusion. A skeleton-like black-robed man appeared in the range of Ningqing's spiritual consciousness. Seeing Ningqing's time wheels sweep through this place, his withered gray eyes filled with disbelief. While the black-robed man looked at the place where Ningqing's time wheels swept through, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness also fell on the black-robed skeleton-like man. Perhaps one couldn't say that he was a skeleton because he still had flesh on his body. Although the flesh and skin stuck to the bones, he wasn't a pure skeleton. The black-robed man covered his feet, making people wonder if he wasn't standing on the ground at all. Instead, he was hovering in the air. The black-robed man's black robe was obviously a good weapon, and Ningqing's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it. This is a laws of time-related spirit technique. The black-robed man took a deep breath and spoke up in shock after a while. Ningqing's celestial rainbow purgatory spear shot out with a void-tearing spear pattern before speaking up in a cold voice. "You're right. Today, I will turn you into a wisp of a dead soul." After seeing this black-robed man, Ningqing determined that this black-robed man was a cultivator, not a ghost cultivator or a Yin soul. Ningqing's traceless spear had long since evolved from the spear intent he had comprehended in the past. The spear intent he had comprehended in the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort had a mighty momentum that could even tear a planet apart. But after he comprehended the Tao law of returning to one, his traceless spear had long since evolved from that spear intent. Although Ningqing hadn't touched the laws of space yet, his spear could cross space and erase the distance of the attack in the shortest time. In addition, this spear also contained countless spear patterns. Each spear pattern not only restrained the opponent's killing power, but it also contained a spear intent that could tear through all obstacles around it. After Ningqing's understanding of this spear reached a certain level, these spear patterns would directly transform into the most powerful spear domain. Just like the 5-colored star splitter arrow, it would first lock onto the opponent. "Stop!" the black-robed man shouted anxiously. At the same time, his black robe started to inflate like a balloon. Bang bang bang. The celestial rainbow purgatory spear's killing intent and the countless spear patterns all slammed into the black-robed man, making dull sounds. How could Ningqing stop? He vaguely felt that this black-robed man had a much lower cultivation compared to the last time he chased after him. For Ningqing, even if the other party's cultivation hadn't changed at all, he wouldn't stop. "I'm cultivating here, and I have no grievances with you. Yet you snatch my things and still act so aggressive." The black-robed man saw that Ningqing didn't want to stop and spoke up with a hateful tone. Ningqing stopped this time. His domain's imposing manner completely covered the black-robed man before speaking up in a cold voice. "No grievances? You snatched my companion beast, Grey Toot Toot, and you still dare to say that you have no grievances with me? Grey Toot Toot? That demonic beast with a trace of the god beast Zhufang's bloodline is yours?" The black-robed man asked in surprise. Ningqing had never heard of the god beast Zhufang before, so he asked in doubt. "What is the god beast Zhufang? Is Grey Toot Toot a descendant of Zhufang?" "No." The black-robed man spoke up with certainty. "Zhufang is extremely difficult to grow. It's a legendary top-grade god beast that can devour and simulate laws and spirit techniques. That Grey Toot Toot only has a trace of Zhufang's bloodline. It's not even the most ordinary starry sky beast, let alone a god beast." The black-robed man's words meant that Ningqing's companion beast couldn't even be considered as the most ordinary starry sky beast, let alone a god beast. The only valuable thing was that it contained a trace of Zhufang's bloodline. However, it was extremely difficult for an authentic Zhufang to grow up. not to mention Grey Toot Toot, which only contained a trace of its bloodline. Ningqing finally understood why Tsang Wei said that Grey Toot Toot was not bad. It turned out that it contained a trace of a god-beast's bloodline. However, he wasn't in the mood to care about Zhu Fang. What he cared about was where Grey Toot Toot was. Where is Grey Toot Toot? Tell me, maybe if I'm in a good mood I'll let you go. As Ningqing spoke, his domain forcibly pressed down. Chapter 8:16. The black-robed man secretly complained. If he could go back a few years, he wouldn't feel afraid of Ningqing. Your Grey Toot Toot isn't with me. Someone took it away. The black-robed man spoke up anxiously. When Ningqing brought out the time wheel and suppressed him with a powerful domain, he understood that he wasn't Ningqing's opponent. As Ningqing's domain grew stronger, he couldn't resist at this moment. Hearing that someone took away Grey Toot Toot, Ningqing's killing intent immediately surged up. The domain overflowed with murderous intent, and it suppressed the black-robed skeleton to the point of suffering. The black-robed man's cultivation had already fallen a lot. Now that Ningqing's powerful killing intent suppressed him, he found it difficult to even speak. Don't do it. If you kill me, you won't be able to find your companion beast. The black-robed man knew that this was his only chance of survival. Ningqing took in a deep breath and forcibly suppressed his killing intent before asking coldly, "Who took away Grey Toot Toot? What is this place? Is it the underworld?" Ningqing felt that this black-robed man didn't seem to be lying. However, he had already sealed the ancient shadow temple. Who else could come to this place? Feeling Ningqing restraining his killing intent, the black-robed man secretly breathed a sigh of relief and spoke up with a worried voice. "I can tell you all this, but you have to promise to spare me once." Ningqing sneered. "You're not qualified to bargain with me. If you don't say it, I can kill you right now. But if you say it, your life and death will depend on my mood." When the black-robed man heard Ningqing's words, his voice turned shrill. "Then you can kill me right now. I'd rather die than tell you. Since you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. I'll search your soul first, and then destroy your spirit soul." After Ningqing finished speaking, the celestial rainbow purgatory spear turned into a substantial spear intent. When the black-robed man heard the words soul search and spirit soul destruction, he no longer felt that shrill. Instead, he quickly called out, "You have to at least allow me to reincarnate before I tell you." Ningqing knew that he couldn't search the soul of a cultivator at the level of the black-robed man. But now that the black-robed man said that he would allow him to reincarnate, Ningqing thought about it and said, "Okay, in any case, I won't let your spiritual soul perish. I will allow you to reincarnate." The black-robed man fully understood Ningqing's ruthlessness and determination at this moment. But with his current cultivation, he couldn't compete with Ningqing at all. Therefore, he had no choice but to give in. This isn't the real underworld. Someone built this place to simulate the first bridge of the underworld to cultivate a spirit technique. That person spent a lot of effort, but could only build the first bridge of coping. He no longer had the ability to build the second bridge. The second bridge? What kind of spiritual technique is this? Ningqing felt a little curious. This place looked so vast and had spent so much effort on it, but it was actually built by someone else to simulate the Yin world for the purpose of cultivating divine abilities. The black-robed man replied. The person who built this place is called Zhong Wuxian, and the spiritual technique he wants to cultivate is called the Seven Bridges. The Seven Bridges spiritual technique is the first bridge of coping, the second bridge of looking home, the third bridge of forgetting river, the fourth bridge of Yellow Springs, the fifth bridge of reincarnation, the sixth bridge of Other Shore, and the seventh bridge of reincarnation. It's a peerless spirit technique. I've stayed here for thousands of years, but I still couldn't cultivate the first bridge of coping, let alone the Seven Bridges spiritual technique. Ningqing felt a little shocked. If the first bridge of this spirit technique was so terrifying, then what kind of great spirit technique would it be if one successfully cultivated it? How many lives did this Zhong Wuxian kill to build the first bridge of coping? If he encountered this Seven Bridges spiritual technique, how long could he resist it? The black-robed man didn't know what Ningqing was thinking about and continued. Zhong Wuxian built the first bridge of coping here. After cultivating for countless years, He realized that he couldn't cultivate the real Seven Bridges spiritual technique here. But after he left behind some things. One of the Een souls developed spiritual wisdom after obtaining these things, and finally became a ghost cultivator. The ancient Shadow Temple is a place that absorbs Een souls. Therefore, the ancient Shadow Temple absorbs the Een souls of countless fallen cultivators, and provides them to that ghost cultivator for cultivation. That ghost cultivator saw Zhong Wuqian cultivating the Seven Bridges spiritual technique, and he also started cultivating the Seven Bridges spiritual technique here. Although that ghost cultivator only knew a little bit about it, he managed to cultivate it to a decent level. Then how did you get here? Where did that ghost cultivator go? Seeing Grey Toot Toot being taken away, Ning Cheng's tone revealed some disappointment. The black-robed man replied, I accidentally found the ancient Shadow Temple and came to this place. That ghost cultivator controlled me and asked me to help him collect the Een souls that couldn't cross the coping bridge. The Een chi in this place is too heavy, and after a long time my cultivation not only didn't improve, but also started to fall. I could only change my cultivation method and start using Een souls to cultivate. Fortunately, that ghost cultivator didn't want low-level Een souls at all. As long as he wanted high-level Een souls, my cultivation gradually rose. As the black-robed man spoke until here, he seemed to have fallen into the scene of being controlled by the ghost cultivator. I helped the ghost cultivator capture all kinds of Een souls here endlessly. I can only cultivate for a while in between. Fortunately, my aptitude is very good. Even so, my cultivation is constantly improving. Later, that ghost cultivator felt that the Een souls in this place were too low level. He asked me to attract cultivators with high cultivation and took 5 treasures. When Ning Cheng heard this, he understood a bit more, and then asked, You mean to say that you were the one who placed the 5 treasures in the pentagonal hall? The black-robed man nodded. Yes, that ghost cultivator forced me to put them in. It's just that the method to control the pentagonal hall and the array formations of the earth gate fell into the hands of that ghost cultivator. Although I put those things in, I couldn't get them back by myself. Those things attracted many top-level cultivators to the ghost cultivator. The ghost cultivator then devoured the essence spirits of those top-level cultivators and put those things in. Until one day, I found a soul-suppressing card on a Een soul. When the ghost cultivator absorbed the Een souls for cultivation, I suddenly took action and used this soul-suppressing card to suppress the ghost cultivator. My cultivation was too different from that ghost cultivator. Although I managed to suppress him, the two of us still ended up in a stalemate. Moreover, the array formations of the entire ancient Shadow Temple were still under the control of that ghost cultivator. How did Grey Toot Toot come in? Ning Cheng asked again. The black-robed man replied, It's because of a heaven cloud Ganoderma that had developed some spiritual wisdom. Grey Toot Toot found that heaven cloud Ganoderma. That heaven cloud Ganoderma fled into the ancient Shadow Temple, and Grey Toot Toot chased after it. Because I found that Grey Toot Toot wasn't simple, I lured it in. Speaking of which, that ghost cultivator also helped me a lot. If he hadn't opened the array formations, I wouldn't have been able to lure Grey Toot Toot inside. After knowing that Grey Toot Toot had a trace of Zhu Fang's bloodline, I tried to force that trace of bloodline out through various means, but to no avail. Ning Cheng's killing intent grew even stronger. No wonder that ghost soldier caught Grey Toot Toot on the futility bridge. It turned out that he wanted to force out Grey Toot Toot's bloodline. A few years ago, a group of you entered the ancient Shadow Temple, and even came to the Yellow Spring Pond. Because the ghost cultivator didn't cooperate, he deliberately let the people who entered the life and death gate break the barrier. I had to stop those people from escaping, which consumed a lot of my energy. Plus, you took away the measureless gourd which I valued the most. That's why I chased after you in a hurry. At this point, the black-robed man's eyes filled with regret. In the end, that ghost cultivator broke free, didn't he? Ning Cheng asked in a cold voice. He finally understood why Chuan Xinlo and the others could come out after getting trapped. It turned out that someone had intentionally let them go. In other words, striking order and the others might not have fallen. The black-robed man sighed. Yes, that ghost cultivator took the opportunity to break free from the soul-suppressing tablet. He also fought against me, severely injured me, and then snatched away Grey Toot Toot. He had a breaking boundary talisman, so I couldn't catch up to him. Ningqing guessed that this black-robed man didn't lie. His strength had indeed fallen a lot. You know about the Seven Bridges spirit technique and Zhong Wuchen. Did that ghost cultivator tell you about it? Ningqing stared at the black-robed man. Yes, that's what he told me. The black-robed man could feel Ningqing's strong murderous intent. He knew that he couldn't survive today, and didn't even bother to beg for mercy. He could only hope that Ningqing would keep his promise and allow him to reincarnate. What's the name of that ghost cultivator? His name is Lingji. That Zhong Wuchen built a mystic realm outside the ancient Shadow Temple. Did he want to let cultivators come in for a trial, and then take the opportunity to extract their souls? Yes, but later he felt that the cultivators who came in for the trial were too low-leveled, so he sealed the ancient Shadow Temple. After asking these questions, the celestial rainbow purgatory spear's spear intent, which had been locked onto the black-robed man, suddenly burst out and instantly turned the black-robed man into slag. Ningqing still kept his promise and allowed the black-robed man to reincarnate with a wisp of his soul. Although he had never met Zhong Wuchen, Ningqing knew that he was a ruthless person. To cultivate a spirit technique, he not only built a mystic realm, but he also built the Hell's Gate, the Yellow Spring Pond, the Life and Death Gate, the Bridge of Coping. From this, one could imagine how many souls had fallen here to form such a heavy yin qi. Otherwise, even if Zhong Wuchen's attainments in array formations had reached a high level, he couldn't have arranged the violent yin wind that could tear apart eternal cultivators. No wonder it was covered in snow all year round outside covered Snow City. With such heavy yin qi in this place, it would have been strange if there was no snow. After killing the black-robed cultivator, Ningqing began to destroy everything under the ancient Shadow Temple. Although Ningqing couldn't arrange those array formations, it didn't take him much effort to destroy them. The most powerful function of the time wheel was destruction. As the time wheel blasted out, Ningqing destroyed not only the fake first bridge of coping, but also the Yellow Spring Pond, the Life and Death Gate, the pitch-black public square, and the Pentagonal Hall. After Ningqing destroyed these places and array formations, the yin qi began to dissipate. Ningqing felt sure that as long as a few years passed, the yin qi in this place would dissipate completely. After doing all this, Ningqing sealed the real ancient Shadow Temple's gate. As for the trial grounds outside the ancient Shadow Temple, Ningqing left them intact. After leaving the ancient Shadow Temple again, Ningqing felt completely relieved. He hadn't found Grey Toot Toot yet, but the threat of the ancient Shadow Temple had been removed. That Zhong Wuchen was simply a madman. To cultivate a spirit technique, he actually built such a huge place here. Seven Bridges spirit technique. It sounded quite scary, but Ningqing didn't know what it was. Just as he thought of this, Ningqing suddenly stopped. Seven Bridges spirit technique? He had obtained a wordless book from the Formless sect, which also had 7 pages. Over the past few years, when he went into seclusion in the mysterious Yellow sect, he had tried to refine it a little. However, he only knew that this book was called the Seven Bridges Realm Book. After that, he couldn't refine it. Were these two Seven Bridges related? Chapter 8:17. After Ningqing returned to covered Snow City, the first thing he did was to go into seclusion to refine the Seven Bridges Realm Book. If this wordless book truly contained the Seven Bridges spirit technique, it definitely wouldn't be any weaker than the 5-colored star splitter arrow. To Ningqing's disappointment, even after 3 months of seclusion, the wordless book still had only a name. Apart from that, he didn't get anything else. In desperation, Ningqing could only give up on refining the book. He couldn't spend all his time on it. He had to go to Thorntooth Lake to study the teleportation array. Since Yanji had teleported away from Thorntooth Lake, Ningqing still couldn't feel at ease. As for Mysterious Yellow Celestial River and Jiangzhou Star, Ningqing knew that he didn't have to worry about them. What he did in Striking Order Starland and 9 Jewels Starry Sky might not have spread throughout Grand Culmination Starry Sky, but at least everyone around Mysterious Yellow Celestial River knew about it. Even Chuan Xinluo didn't dare to come to Jiangzhou Star to find trouble with Ningcheng, so who would dare? One could say that Jiangzhou Star, or even mysterious yellow celestial river, was the safest place in this part of the starry sky. Of course, only a few people knew that Chuan Xinluo had left Grand Culmination Starry Sky, Night Essence Celestial River's Orchid Bane Star's Thorntooth Lake. Ever since Ningcheng killed Shangguan Fei and Shangguan Xiang here a few years ago, few people came here. After Luo Xija completely took over Nine Jewels Starry Sky, Luo Xija listed this place as a forbidden area. Ningcheng had been working on the teleportation array under Thorntooth Lake for 2 years now. Over the past 2 years, he had been constantly deducing various forms of teleportation arrays, trying to arrange a one-way teleportation array. Even if he couldn't teleport to the original location, he could at least teleport to a nearby location. Although Ningcheng had the mysterious yellow formless, and few people could match his deduction ability, he still couldn't deduce the method to arrange a one-way teleportation array, let alone advance to the Array Dao Master realm. To help Ningcheng, Nine Jewels Starry Sky Emperor Luo Xija had collected the best Array Dao Jade strips in the entire Nine Jewels Starry Sky. Unfortunately, these Array Dao Jade strips couldn't help Ningcheng reach the next level in the Array Dao. Even after studying array formations for several years, he still couldn't advance to the level of an Array Dao Master. This made Ningcheng deeply understand the difficulties of becoming an Array Dao Master. From a Grade 7 Starry Sky Array Emperor to a Grade 9 Starry Sky Array, Starry Ningcheng didn't spend much effort. However, the difficulty of advancing to become an Array Dao Master put Ningcheng in a difficult situation for the first time. Fortunately, he didn't come up empty-handed. After years of studying the Tao of Arrays, Ningcheng realized that he still lacked the most important foundation to advance to the level of an Array Dao Master: the laws of space. No one was like him, who had come into contact with the laws of time for so long, but still hadn't touched the laws of space. In terms of complexity, the law of space was inferior to the law of time. In comparison, touching the law of space was much easier than touching the law of time. However, Ningcheng touched the laws of time first. In the Tao of Arrays, especially when it came to setting up ultra-long-distance teleportation arrays, the Array Master had to have a certain understanding of the laws of space. Otherwise, no matter how strong one's comprehension and deduction ability was, it would be in vain. If you want to fly, you must first have wings. It didn't matter if your wings were solid or in some other form. To come into contact with the laws of space, the most famous of the 4 Grand Starry Skies were the Grand Spirit Heaven Starry Skies Sky Ridge and the Demon Domain's Traceless Gate. The fame of these 2 places was comparable to that of Striking Order Starry Skies Time Wilderness. The difference was that the Time Wilderness was a place to comprehend the laws of time, while the Sky Ridge and the Traceless Gate were places to comprehend the laws of space. The Sky Ridge was filled with spatial collapses, spatial cracks, and spatial dislocations. It also had dense spatial blade lights. In fact, not many cultivators would go to this place to comprehend the laws of space. Going to the Sky Ridge was equivalent to holding one's head in one's hands. The Demon Domain's Traceless Gate looked safer than the Sky Ridge. Although there were no spatial dislocations here, the Traceless Gate had too many separate pockets. After entering one of these pockets, one's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it. Sometimes, even if 2 people were close to each other, they couldn't see each other. Many cultivators who tried to comprehend the laws of space in the Traceless Gate never came out after entering. Only those who knew the inside story understood that the Traceless Gate was no less dangerous than the Sky Ridge. If Ningcheng wanted to come into contact with the laws of space in the shortest time, he had to go to these 2 places. After thinking about it again and again, Ningcheng decided to go to the Traceless Gate first. He had seen spatial dislocations and spatial collapses many times, but he couldn't comprehend any laws of space. On the contrary, Ningcheng had only heard about the Traceless Gate, but had never tried it. The Traceless Gate was a trial ground for comprehending the laws of space. However, not everyone could enter the Traceless Gate. Because the entrance to the Traceless Gate was guarded by the Traceless Immortal Pond. The Traceless Immortal Pond was a real sect. This sect was located in the Grand Demon Domain Starry Sky. If one wanted to enter the Traceless Gate's trial ground, one had to pass through this sect. Standing outside the Traceless Immortal Pond, Ningqing felt shocked. This place might not be as majestic as Chuanxinlou's leveled Heart Emperor Mountain, but this place was definitely the largest sect he had ever seen. The 9 huge heaven-connecting array pillars explained everything. These heaven-connecting array pillars required a lot of top-grade materials, which required many artifact crafting and array formation grandmasters to arrange. Even on stately River Star he wouldn't waste so much. Several suspended waterfalls appeared in the air, and Ningqing could tell that these waterfalls were the hidden array foundations of the sect. The majestic sound of the waterfalls indicated that this was a powerful sect, no weaker than any other place. This was just a corner of it. Ningqing, a peak-level array emperor, could easily tell that this kind of grand arrangement was everywhere in the Traceless Immortal Pond. Ningqing had just observed for a while when a young female cultivator came out to receive him. After hearing Ningqing's intentions, she didn't ask any nonsense. She asked Ningqing to pay 100 permanent essence pills, and directly brought Ningqing to the Traceless Immortal Pond's guest room. Ningqing was famous in Grand Culmination Starry Sky. Even Devil Domain's Silent Bubble Starland had heard of Ningqing's name. But in Demon Domain's Traceless Immortal Pond, Ningqing was truly unknown. No one had heard of him at all. Ningqing wasn't the only one who wanted to enter the Traceless Gate through the Traceless Immortal Pond. When Ningqing arrived at the Traceless Immortal Pond's guest room, 5 people were already waiting here, and he was the 6th. Most of the people who came here to comprehend the laws of space were reclusive cultivators. When Ningqing came in, the first 5 people in the guest room all had their eyes closed, and none of them spoke. Of these 5 people, 3 were male and 2 were female. Except for 1 in the heaven-seated realm. The other 4 were 2 in the life and death realm, and 2 in the eternal realm. Among the 2 eternal cultivators, 1 was even at the late-stage eternal realm. Ningqing didn't like waiting here, but he had no other choice. The Traceless Gate was the territory of the Traceless Immortal Pond. Therefore he had no choice but to wait. Fortunately, Ningqing didn't have to wait long before a middle-aged female cultivator arrived at the guest room. When Ningqing saw this middle-aged female cultivator, he felt that the Traceless Immortal Pond wasn't simple. This middle-aged female cultivator, who came out to receive guests, already had early-stage eternal cultivation. The middle-aged female cultivator cupped her fists towards Ningqing's group of 6 and said, "As the guardian sect of the Traceless Gate, my Traceless Immortal Pond would like to thank everyone for coming to the Traceless Gate to comprehend the laws of space. Although everyone already knows about it, I still have to say some words first. Since the establishment of the Traceless Immortal Pond, a total of 1,113,412 cultivators have entered the Traceless Gate, but a total of 90,378 people have come out unscathed. Of course, we don't know how many of these people managed to comprehend the laws of space. However, I can tell you one thing. Devil Domain Grand Starry Sky's Heavenly Emperor Qiao Jirui has entered the Traceless Gate. I believe that everyone knows about Heavenly Emperor Qiao Jirui's 5-colored myriad connecting banner, which came from the Traceless Gate. Moreover, I believe that few people in the 4 Grand Starry Skies could match his control over the laws of space." Ningqing truly didn't know that Qiao Jirui had entered the Traceless Gate. However, Ningqing had seen the 5-colored myriad connecting banner before. It truly was a space-type weapon. Ningqing didn't care about Qiao Jirui's laws of space. Compared to the red-haired man he killed, Qiao Jirui's control over the laws of space was too weak. However, the survival rate of entering the Traceless Gate shocked Ningqing. It was less than 1/10. The other 5 people looked calm. Apparently, they all knew about the dangers of the Traceless Gate before coming here. Seeing the 6 people remaining silent, the middle-aged female cultivator continued. "Apart from paying 10,000 permanent essence pills to enter the Traceless Gate, there is another task." Ningqing asked in doubt. "Didn't we pay 100 permanent essence pills when we came in? Why do we still have to pay 10,000 permanent essence pills?" This 10,000 permanent essence pills is the fee to enter the Traceless Gate. As for the 100 permanent essence pills, it's the reception fee. The middle-aged female cultivator glanced at Ningqing and spoke with a calm voice. Ningqing looked at the cup of spirit tea in front of him and couldn't help but think that it was too expensive. A cup of water costs 100 permanent essence pills? 10,000 permanent essence pills naturally didn't mean much to him. But with over 1 million people, how many permanent essence pills would it cost? No wonder the Traceless Immortal Pond was so rich. No, even if 1 million people entered the Traceless Gate, the Traceless Immortal Pond wouldn't be this rich. After all, these million people didn't come here all at once. It was an accumulation of countless years. Ningqing was a top-notch artifact crafting emperor and a top-notch starry sky array emperor master. Therefore, he naturally understood how much money Traceless Immortal Pond spent to build it. From the looks of it, the Traceless Immortal Pond seemed to have other sources of income. While Ningqing was thinking about it, the others had already handed over permanent essence pills. 2 cultivators didn't have enough permanent essence pills and used perpetual moon pills instead. Ningqing didn't hesitate and directly took out 10,000 permanent essence pills and handed it over. He already had hundreds of millions of permanent essence pills on him. After putting away the permanent essence pills and perpetual moon pills handed over by the 6 people, the middle-aged female cultivator continued. Many cultivators in the Traceless Gate never came out after entering, including many disciples of my Traceless Immortal Pond. Therefore, when you enter the Traceless Gate, you also have a mission. As long as you can find my Traceless Immortal Pond's disciples in the Traceless Gate and bring them out, we will reward you with at least 100,000 permanent essence pills. Even if the highest reward is 100 million permanent essence pills, my Traceless Immortal Pond will not be stingy. Chapter 8:18. With such an expensive jade strip, it would have been strange if no one did such a thing. If this was the case, then they would have no good end in the future. Ningqing even suspected that the places on the jade strip were all traps set up by Traceless Immortal Pond. As long as they went there, they would most likely fall into the hands of Traceless Immortal Pond. The group followed the middle-aged female cultivator vigilantly for nearly an incense stick worth of time, before arriving at a stone platform less than 10 feet in diameter. In front of this platform was a circular door that looked like a soap bubble and looked somewhat shiny. Above this soap bubble door were 3 words, Traceless Gate. Ningqing noticed that apart from the late-stage Eternal Cultivator, the young female cultivator among the other 5 also seemed to want to buy it. However, she quickly suppressed the idea. Presumably, she was afraid of exposing her wealth. From this, Ningqing could tell that this young female cultivator was a cautious cultivator. There was only one reason why these jade strips hadn't leaked out. That is, none of the cultivators who bought these jade strips could walk out of the Traceless Gate. Otherwise, even if someone who bought these jade strips could walk out of the Traceless Gate, it would still leak out. Even if they couldn't copy it, they could still recreate it according to their memories. This late-stage Eternal Cultivator wasn't wrong. Ningqing had seen the 3 jade strips and confirmed that they were indeed locked by restrictions. But these restrictions didn't mean anything to him. If he wanted to copy them, he could easily copy them. Ningqing didn't intend to copy them. Firstly, these were Traceless Immortal Pond's business methods. Copying them would be equivalent to destroying the market, which would be considered piracy. Secondly, Ningqing didn't feel like copying them for these permanent essence pills. The middle-aged female cultivator put away the permanent essence pills and spoke up with satisfaction. Please follow me into the Traceless Gate. However, after the group stepped onto the chain, they understood why there was a chain here. Stepping on this chain, one could only feel a strong downward force, while one's spiritual consciousness felt completely suppressed. Seeing this late-stage Eternal Cultivator enter, the others also followed suit. They all had the same idea. Soon only Ningqing remained. The late-stage Eternal Cultivator's expression changed slightly. Apparently, he also figured out what was going on. Without saying anything, he turned around and rushed into the Traceless Gate that looked like a soap bubble. From the looks of it, he knew that only by becoming stronger could he have a chance of survival. After saying that, the middle-aged female cultivator took out a few jade strips and held one of them up. This is a map of the Traceless Gate. Countless disciples of my Traceless Immortal Pond exchanged their lives for it. It shows many small spaces within the traceless gate. Everyone knew that once one entered the traceless gate, there would be no spatial orientation or direction. However, as long as it's a space marked on the jade slip in my hand, there will be directions so that you won't lose your way. This locational jade strip sells for 100,000 permanent essence pills. Only then did Ning Cheng understand that compared to the previous 10,100 permanent essence pills, this was the real way to make money. The middle-aged female cultivator stopped and said, "This is the traceless gate. I wish you good luck." Not waiting for Ning Cheng to answer, the late-stage eternal cultivator, who bought 3 jade strips like Ning Cheng, spoke up. "He can't copy it to you. This jade strip is locked by restrictions. As long as you try to copy it, it would shatter. Moreover, even if it doesn't shatter, the restrictions on this jade slip will restrict the duplication. Unless you are a top-array emperor, you won't be able to duplicate it." Hearing the late-stage eternal cultivator's explanation, the rest of the people showed disappointed expressions. Ning Cheng asked in doubt, "You should have heard about the traceless gate before coming here, right? Haven't you heard about the traceless immortal pond selling jade strips? Or does the traceless immortal pond not allow people to re-engrave jade strips for sale?" It stood to reason that the cultivators who bought the jade strips would have a higher chance of survival. So why couldn't anyone come out? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept through the surrounding monitoring arrays and sneered before entering the traceless gate. No wonder the traceless immortal pond was so rich. It turned out to be a black shop. Anyone who could take out permanent essence pills to buy jade strips was obviously a wealthy cultivator. These wealthy cultivators would register at the traceless immortal pond. But once they came out, they would only end up dead. The wealth of these cultivators would then transform into the wealth of the traceless gate. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to sigh at the high price, the middle-aged female cultivator raised another jade strip and said, "This is the traceless gate's escape jade strip. Of course, this jade strip can't help you escape 100% of the time. As long as you find a small space marked on this jade strip, you can follow the instructions of the jade strip to get out of the traceless gate. Each jade strip also costs 200,000 permanent essence pills." Ning Cheng truly felt puzzled. Nearly 100,000 cultivators had come out of the traceless gate. Why didn't any of these 100,000 people inscribe jade strips for sale? "Give me one of each." The late-stage eternal cultivator spoke up. He had paid 500,000 permanent essence pills with just a raise of his hand, which showed that he was a wealthy person. The others also felt the unrestricted suppression of their spiritual consciousness, and their expressions changed drastically. Although for cultivators above the heaven-seated realm, even if they couldn't use their spiritual consciousness, they wouldn't fall to their deaths. But this situation was clearly beyond everyone's expectations. Moreover, the traceless gate had plenty of starry sky spirit chi, and even some high-grade treasures. Heavenly Emperor Jirue's 5-colored myriad connecting banner doesn't need to be mentioned. Even the starry sky radish grass has appeared in the traceless gate. I also have a similar jade strip with me, which can let you know the distribution of these small spaces in the traceless gate. Each one costs 200,000 permanent essence pills. The heaven-seated cultivator frowned after he finished speaking. Apparently, he felt that something wasn't right. He didn't care about such things normally, so he naturally didn't find it strange. But now that he specifically mentioned it, he felt a little strange. The others also felt a little strange, and Ning Cheng felt that something was wrong. Although the jade strips couldn't be copied, they could always re-engrave it. As long as they could remember the contents inside, it wouldn't be a problem to re-engrave it in the future. Seeing Ning Cheng purchase the jade strips, several people in the guest room looked at Ning Cheng with some doubts. In their opinion, Ning Cheng should be the poorest cultivator here. For a mere 100 permanent essence pills, he even mentioned it. It would be strange if such a cultivator was rich. But this cultivator, whom they thought to be the poorest, didn't hesitate to take out 500,000 permanent essence pills and buy 3 jade strips. I've heard about traceless immortal pond selling jade strips at sky-high prices, but such jade strips don't sell outside. As for traceless immortal pond not allowing people to re-engrave such jade strips, it doesn't seem to exist, right? Anyway, I've never heard of such a thing. Besides, they didn't say anything about re-engraving. I guess they know that no one can re-engrave such jade strips, or that such jade strips have never leaked out. The heaven-seated cultivator said with a frown. Regardless of whether Traceless Immortal Pawn did such a thing or not, he didn't mind raising Traceless Immortal Pawn to the ground if they had any ideas about him in the future. After saying that, the middle-aged female cultivator turned around and walked away, disappearing at the end of the chain in an instant. Because she was on the ground, her spiritual consciousness and celestial essence had fully recovered. As such, the few people immediately relaxed their vigilance. The middle-aged female cultivator didn't bring out a flight-type weapon. Instead, she led the 6 people onto a long suspended chain. This chain was only as thick as a thumb, and it hovered in the air, surrounded by layers of white clouds. The only reason was that the cultivators who bought the jade strips were being targeted. Even if they could come out alive, they would most likely die. Even some of the cultivators who didn't buy the jade strips and managed to get out of the Traceless Gate alive would end up dead just because they suspected it. Ningqing looked like someone with average cultivation. But no one in this room dared to underestimate Ningqing. How could a cultivator who cultivated a messy cultivation method take out so many permanent essence pills? Even with these permanent essence pills, one could buy a good cultivation method. Most likely, this cultivator had concealed his cultivation. Ningqing had a starry sky sea of consciousness, which made him extremely powerful. However, he didn't care about this kind of spiritual consciousness suppression. As long as he wanted to, his spiritual consciousness could break through the surrounding suppressive space at any time, bring out a flight-type weapon, or use his spiritual consciousness and celestial essence to step out of the void. Even if his spiritual consciousness couldn't break through, or even stretch out, he could forcibly wield the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to escape. Because of Ningqing's wealth, the few of them paid even more attention to Ningqing. But soon, they discovered that Ningqing's cultivation didn't seem to be high. That's because the celestial wheels behind Ningqing looked messy and disorderly. It looked even worse than the heaven-seated cultivator in the room. Only those who cultivated low-level cultivation methods could form such irregular celestial wheels. Everyone here was a top-level cultivator. Not to mention this floating chain. Even if there wasn't a chain, no one would care about walking through the void. Ningqing and the others stood up. But unlike before, Ningqing's generosity had caused the other 5 people's spiritual consciousness to linger on him for a long time. Friend, I'm willing to pay you 100,000 permanent essence pills, as long as you give me a copy of those 3 jade strips. The middle-aged female cultivator had just left when another eternal cultivator spoke up to Ningqing with cupped fists. 500,000 permanent essence pills was a fortune for eternal cultivators, but it didn't mean much to Ningqing. He didn't hesitate to take out 500,000 permanent essence pills and purchase the 3 jade strips. Chapter 819. The comprehension of the laws of space always started from the most basic, which was to compress space through speed. When the speed reached a certain level, space would be compressed to almost nothing. Only by compressing this space to almost nothing could one slowly touch the laws of space, and truly walk into the laws of space. At this point, even without speed, one could compress the spatial distance through the laws of space. After waking up, Ningqing found that it had been 4 years since he fell into this comprehension of grasping space. Ningqing gave out a sigh before he stopped. No matter how vicious the Traceless Immortal Pawn's methods were, the Traceless Gate was real. This place was indeed a place where countless spatial conversions took place. The desert he had just experienced was one space, and the gray void he experienced now was another space. What was space? On the surface, space was just the distance between substances and the open area. But with Ningqing's cultivation, he naturally understood that space was far from simple. Maybe 2 substances were adjacent, but the space between them was endless. He could use his divine sense to grab another material that was a distance away from him, and then forcibly compress the space between him and the material. Even if the other substance was countless planets away from him, as long as his spiritual consciousness touched it, he could realize his thoughts. In an instant he could compress this space into nothingness and turn it into nothingness. The traceless gate had all kinds of spatial conversions, and Ning Cheng, who had fallen into a state of comprehension, constantly changed between these spaces. A slightly hoarse voice woke Ning Cheng up, and he abruptly sobered up from this endless state of comprehension. The more Ning Cheng thought about it, the more he felt a headache. He wanted to force himself to stop comprehending this problem, but he couldn't stop. If someone followed Ning Cheng at this time, they would clearly see Ning Cheng constantly changing spaces within the traceless gate. At the same time, he kept punching out with his fists, and from time to time he also made hand seals before grabbing out. The traces of the Tao charm laws flowed around his body, and changed from time to time. This was also because he didn't have a master. If he had a master to teach him, Ning Cheng would never do such a ridiculous thing. In fact, even Ning Cheng himself didn't know that he was acting so ridiculous right now. It was a typical case of someone who hadn't learned how to walk, and had already started running. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it just now." Ning Cheng apologized with cupped fists. To be honest, this female cultivator could only be described as delicate and pretty, and he truly didn't have any thoughts about her. A female cultivator at the early stage of the Eternal Realm. Yet he casually grabbed her by her clothes. It felt a bit strange. After Ning Cheng completely sobered up, he finally understood the absurdity of his own perception. He actually wanted to grasp the distance between two different spaces. This was simply equivalent to grasping something from one interface to another. Time continued to disappear under Ning Cheng's perception. Not knowing for how long, Ning Cheng suddenly slapped his head. Space might be very complicated, but was it really necessary for him to think so deeply? All he needed to do was to grasp the distance between two objects, no matter what space it was. Laws of space. Ning Cheng and the female cultivator exclaimed almost at the same time. Ning Cheng could use the sunset's twilight spirit technique to stop time for a single breath. However, this single breath was only within the scope of his spirit technique's influence. Once it exceeded this limit, he would no longer be able to control it. As for fighting, Ning Cheng really did not care about it. He didn't even fear Chuan Xinluo. At most, Traceless Immortal Pond only had a few array formation restrictions. As a Starry Sky Grade 9 array emperor, how could he put this in his eyes? However, he would not waste his time on such a boring thing. He still needed to comprehend the laws of space. This was already the 4th year since Ning Cheng came here. Perhaps no one had ever been like Ning Cheng, constantly switching between spaces for 4 years. He even fell into a demonic barrier. He would never give up until he grasped both spaces in his hands. The female cultivator quickly took out a coat, and put it on before speaking up in a cold voice. "Don't you feel ashamed to use such an excuse? If you want a woman, you might as well say it directly. There's no need to use such means." There might be countless cultivators in the Traceless Gate, who came here to comprehend the laws of space. But similarly, there were countless spaces in this place. No one knew how many small spaces the Traceless Gate had. Therefore, even if Ning Cheng had come here for many years, he had not met a single person. Ning Cheng stepped through the soap bubble-like Traceless Gate, and saw a desert in front of him. His spiritual consciousness could cover the entire desert, but when he reached the edge of the desert, he found nothing but an endless void. He couldn't even touch the end. During these transitions he had experienced all kinds of spaces: desert spaces, swamp spaces, forest spaces, ocean spaces, mountain spaces. When the female cultivator heard Ning Cheng's apology, she felt a bit calmer. But she didn't expect that after Ning Cheng said those words, he didn't explain anything. Instead, he fell into silence. Not even able to find an excuse, the female cultivator suddenly felt unhappy in her heart. The Traceless Gate was indeed the best place to comprehend the laws of space. There was no place more suitable than this place to comprehend the laws of space. "Want a woman?" Ning Cheng suddenly frowned. He quickly understood what was going on. He had fallen into the obsession of grasping space. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng no longer felt like apologizing. His eyes showed surprise and said to the female cultivator, "I'm going to attack you now." There was at least a dozen meters between Ning Cheng and the female cultivator. When Ning Cheng raised his hand to grab her, the dozen meters of space seemed to suddenly disappear. He didn't use the Traceless Spirit technique. Almost at the same time Ningcheng stretched out his hand, he had already arrived in front of the female cultivator. It seemed that the spatial distance between him and the female cultivator had completely disappeared after he stretched out his hand. As he spoke, Ningcheng raised his hand and grabbed it. Time flowed by in this boring space transformation, while Ningcheng was completely immersed in it. The reason why he kept switching between different spaces was because he felt that every time he switched from one space to another, his perception was the deepest. In this place he could even feel space folding, space distortions. The twin wings of the heavenly clouds continued to flap. After a few days, Ningcheng found that the desert where he stood before had completely disappeared, and in front of him was an empty gray space. The ground, the sky, and even the breathing gave off a grayish feeling. It wasn't that Ningcheng couldn't find an excuse, but he suddenly remembered something. If he could grab something from another space in another space, didn't that mean that he had already succeeded in his first step? Ningcheng took out the few jade strips he had purchased, which all contained directions. Ningcheng sneered in his heart. He didn't know if the jade strip that indicated the location of the treasures contained the real treasure or not. But he was sure that as long as he went to this place, he would have to face a battle. In Ningcheng's heart, he felt that he was only a little bit away from success. He didn't dare to stop, fearing that this perception would suddenly break. During this period he repeatedly switched spaces, and then continued to grab. When Ningcheng was still in school, he had thought about space and time. Space and time were the fundamental properties of the universe, and time was irreversible. In fact, after Ningcheng comprehended the laws of time, he knew that as long as one's ability reached a certain level, time could also be reversed. It was just that this reversal was relative and within a certain range. One could imagine, if someone could reverse the time of the entire vast starry sky, just how terrifying would that person's spirit ability be? 1 year, 2 years, Ningcheng wielded the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and rushed out of the desert. Once again, he came into contact with the boundless space, without color or shape. It was as if he was switching between 3 or even 4-dimensional spaces. He could only feel the space between time and space, but he couldn't really control the transition between time and space. Putting away the jade strip, Ningcheng began to constantly switch spaces within the traceless gate. In this place, as long as you kept moving, you might end up in another space from one space to another, or you might end up trapped in one of the spaces forever, never to come out. There was no direction, no position, and no life aura. Ningcheng looked at the disheveled female cultivator in front of him with slight gratitude. "Did you wake me up just now?" He had experienced spatial collapses, spatial dislocations, spatial cracks. It was the same for everything, even the laws. As long as there was a beginning, there would be countless processes, and then an end. It was just like the countless spaces within the traceless gate. Although 2 spaces were adjacent to each other, they were actually separated by countless distances. This truth was the same as the distance between interfaces and planes that Songwei had explained to him. It was a wall, and the laws of space allowed him to ignore this wall. As for ripping off this female cultivator's clothes, it was a normal thing. The spaces inside the traceless gate were all silent spaces. Except for a few, most of them were lifeless. Once he sensed any spiritual power fluctuations, he would grab them first. This female cultivator was at the early stage eternal realm, and cultivating in this place meant that there was a huge space and spiritual power fluctuations. Ningcheng frowned. He clearly wanted to understand the laws of space, so why did he suddenly think of time? However, he also felt that this idea was not wrong. After all, time and space had an inseparable relationship. If a person could control the space of the entire universe, wouldn't his laws of time also affect the entire universe? As for wanting to compress space on a large scale like Ningcheng, or even wanting to control the range of different spaces in his hands, it was simply a dream. If Ningcheng's cultivation increased by 1,000 times, Ningcheng might be able to do it. But now Ningcheng's strength clearly wasn't enough. Because there was no one in this space at all. How could this female cultivator think of the celestial essence hand that suddenly stretched out from this space? She had also fallen into a state of enlightenment, which naturally caught her off guard. It was similar to when Ningcheng first came into contact with the laws of time. Before sunset's twilight, he had compressed time without limit, making time flow extremely slowly. In fact, it wasn't the laws of time, but it was the best way to comprehend the laws of time. A gray space without anything, a hollow world, a wind-blade world. But with so many cultivators inside the traceless gate, it was only a matter of time before they met other cultivators. At this time, Ningqing fell into a state of enlightenment, grasping the distance between two spaces. That's right, Ningqing wasn't grasping the material distance within the same space. Rather, he was now immersed in grasping the material distance between two different spaces. Chapter 820. Just as his hand was about to grab the female cultivator, Ningqing stopped. He only felt ecstatic at this moment. He had unknowingly comprehended the laws of space without even knowing it. If it weren't for this female cultivator's interruption, he might have continued to grasp the distance between two different spaces. Maybe one day, he might have succeeded, but how long would that day be? 10 years, 100 years, or even more than 1,000 years? Did you successfully comprehend the laws of space? How long have you been here? The female cultivator had already forgotten about Ningqing ripping off her clothes, and her eyes were filled with surprise. From the bottom of his heart, Ningqing still felt grateful to this female cultivator for waking him up. Now that the other party asked, Ningqing honestly replied, "It's been a few years. This is the longest time I've been in an epiphany." Ningqing didn't lie. He had never spent a few years in an epiphany. A few years? The longest. Heavens! The female cultivator's gaze towards Ningqing had completely changed. She thought of herself as a cultivation genius, but she had already entered the traceless gate for hundreds of years. Over the past few hundred years, she had only just come into contact with the laws of space, while this person touched the laws of space in just a few years. The difference was just too big. "Thank you. If you hadn't woken me up, I might have fallen into that kind of obsession." Ningqing cupped his fists and thanked her sincerely. The female cultivator rolled her eyes and quickly said, "If you want to thank me, can you tell me about the laws of space you comprehended?" After that, she looked at Ningqing expectantly. Although she knew that such a request was almost impossible, she still couldn't help but ask it. Ningqing hesitated for a moment before saying, "It's not that I don't want to say it, but I really don't know how to say it." If he could say it, Ningqing would not hide it. It didn't matter, not to mention that this female cultivator had helped him. It was like swimming. You could swim, but you couldn't tell others how to float on the water and not sink. The same was true for laws. This kind of feeling could only be understood and not spoken. If you knew it, then you knew it. If you didn't know it, then you didn't know it. The female cultivator's eyes flashed with disappointment when she heard Ningqing's words, but she still nodded. "I understand. She did understand. Even if she had comprehended the law of space, she would not casually reveal the essence of this law to a stranger. Ningqing, on seeing the disappointment in this female cultivator's eyes, still spoke up. "I try to perceive the distance and orientation between two objects in space. Then, through this reference object, I use my spiritual consciousness to obtain the spatial distance between the objects. Then I use my celestial essence and spiritual consciousness to grasp the space." Ningqing's words were very general, but the female cultivator's eyes lit up after listening to it. That's right, her perception of the laws of space had always been aimed at the space in front of her, or at the space she had comprehended. She had never thought of such a method. Seeing that his proposal finally gave this female cultivator some hints, Ningqing quickly spoke up. "I have to go, goodbye." After comprehending the laws of space, the first thing Ningqing wanted to do was to head to Night Essence Celestial River's Thorntooth Lake and continue to study the one-way teleportation array. He had a premonition that after comprehending the space laws, he would soon advance to become an array Dao master. "Wait." The female cultivator, on hearing that Ningqing wanted to leave, quickly called out to Ningqing, "I still have one more thing that I want to cooperate with you on." "What is it?" Ningqing asked. The female cultivator hesitated for a moment before speaking up. "I know a place with space crystals containing the laws of space. But I don't understand the laws of space, so I can't get it. Now I'll take you to that place, and we can split the space crystals equally. Space crystals? Ning Cheng repeated the words in shock. As a top-notch artifact crafting grandmaster, and a top-notch Starry Sky Grade 9 Array Emperor, Ning Cheng naturally understood the preciousness of space crystals. Space crystals contain the laws of space, which not only allowed cultivators to comprehend the laws of space, but also allowed them to refine storage-type weapons containing the laws of space. Artifact crafting materials such as underworld space stones couldn't compare to it. Underworld space stones and some top-notch space-type materials could be used to refine storage rings, storage bags, and so on. However, such storage devices generally couldn't contain living things. There was only one reason for this, that is, there were no real laws of heaven and earth. However, there were also some top-notch materials that top-notch artifact crafting grandmasters could use to refine miniature worlds. Although these miniature worlds could support life, they had almost no laws binding them and were extremely fragile. They couldn't compare to real space crystals. But space crystals, on the other hand, contained the laws of space. If combined with laws of time crystals, one could fuse them with materials that could be used to refine miniature worlds, and one could refine a perfect living space. The space created from the fusion of such materials was also known as a law world, and its value far exceeded that of ordinary miniature worlds. More importantly, space crystals were the best material for refining long-distance teleportation arrays. It was much more precious than the time stones Ning Cheng obtained. Time stones only allowed people to come into contact with the laws of time, but they didn't contain the complete laws of time. Only things like time crystals could help people comprehend the laws of time. However, the time crystal was even more precious than the space crystal. Yes, I'm sure it's space crystals. I've stayed here for nearly 100 years, and haven't obtained any of those crystals. But I believe that I'm not mistaken. I only have one request, that is, to split the things equally. The female cultivator spoke with a firm tone. Ning Cheng felt warm in his heart. Who would dislike having too many space crystals? He subconsciously reached out and said, I agree with your distribution plan. My name is Ning Cheng. I hope we can cooperate happily. The female cultivator saw Ning Cheng reach out, but didn't reach out to shake his hand. Perhaps she didn't understand the etiquette of shaking hands. Instead, she cupped her fists and said, My name is Mu Wei. I stayed in this space for space crystals. Ning Cheng quickly retracted his hand and said, Senior apprentice Sister Mu Wei, please lead the way. The space where Mu Wei stood was a desert without even the slightest bit of greenery. When Ning Cheng heard Mu Wei speak about space crystals, he immediately swept out with his spiritual consciousness, but didn't see any space crystals. An hour later, Mu Wei stopped and pointed to the nothingness in front of her. There are space crystals on the other side. I've tried countless methods, but I couldn't get them. Ning Cheng looked at the nothingness in front of him in doubt and said, Senior apprentice Sister Mu Wei, according to my experience, through this nothingness, it should be another space. Ning Cheng's words abruptly stopped. He felt that this nothingness was different from other places. Mu Wei quickly explained on hearing Ning Cheng's words, There are definitely space crystals in front of us. My eyes are different from ordinary cultivators. I can see through parts of the nothingness. It's because I'm afraid that once I go in, I would fall into another space and never be able to return to this place. That's why I didn't dare to move. However, I can see that there is an insurmountable space between the location of the space crystal and the place where we are. I don't understand the laws of space, so I can't get past it. You're right. There is indeed a different space on the other side. Ning Cheng could also see the difference. His spiritual consciousness also noticed that this space was different from other places. He had switched between too many spaces, and every time he switched, he would encounter this kind of nothingness. The nothingness in front of him was obviously different from the spaces he had switched between before. This place had a strong aura of the laws of space. Not only that, he could also feel a strong fluctuation of the laws of space on the other side of the nothingness. Under normal circumstances, when Ning Cheng switched between spaces, he could only feel the space changing. It was absolutely impossible to feel such strong fluctuations of the laws of space. If there were such strong fluctuations of the laws of space every time he switched between spaces, he would have already comprehended the laws of space. I want to go and have a look, but I can't guarantee that I can reach the other side. Once there is an error, I might end up in another unrelated space, and I would lose these space crystals forever. Do you want to stay here, or come with me? Ningqing looked at Mu Wei after speaking. Mu Wei hesitated for a while before asking, if you can reach the location of the space crystal, can you come back? Ningqing shook his head and said, the chance of coming back is only 1 in 10,000. If you don't go, and I get the space crystal, I can only tell you where I am. If you can get out of the traceless gate in the future, you can go to my place and ask for the rest of the starry sky crystals. I'll go with you, Mu Wei said without hesitation, although she didn't think that Ningqing was the kind of person who would swallow everything. But in case Ningqing took the space crystal and left, what would be the point of her staying here? If Ningqing couldn't find the location of the space crystal, then she could only blame herself for not having the opportunity. Without the opportunity, even if she comprehended the real laws of space countless years later, she might end up the same as Ningqing. Okay, I'll grab you and go with you. Ningqing raised his hand and grabbed Mu Wei's waist. At the same time he stepped into the void. The distance in the void seemed to turn into nothingness under his feet. In just a dozen steps, Ningqing stood at the edge of a crystal-clear world. So beautiful. Mu Wei looked at the beautiful scenery in front of her in shock and exclaimed. This world was transparent, and one could feel the fluctuations of the laws coming from the space crystal from time to time. Ningqing also felt shocked. It was even more shocking than the ice crystal world. It felt like a scene straight out of a fairy tale. But what surprised Ningqing even more was that this place not only contained many space crystals, but also rich starry sky essence spirit chi. Seeing Mu Wei's hands trembling with excitement, Ningqing simply said, Senior apprentice Sister Mu Wei, there are at least hundreds of space crystals here. Let's do it this way, whoever gets it can keep it. There's no need to split it evenly. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to say. After Mu Wei finished, her figure flashed and rushed towards one of the spatial fluctuations. Since Mu Wei started first, Ningqing naturally wouldn't fall behind. He had the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, which allowed him to move much faster than Mu Wei. Mu Wei quickly discovered that her speed wasn't even 1/3 of Ningqing's. But she didn't feel disappointed. She felt very satisfied with collecting so many space crystals in this place. Chapter 8:21. After half a day, Ningqing obtained 184 space crystals, while Mu Wei obtained more than 60 space crystals. Mu Wei couldn't help but feel surprised in her heart. She looked at Ningqing gratefully and spoke. With these space crystals, I'm sure that I can touch the laws of space within a year. It's all thanks to you. Thank you. Ningqing smiled. I should be the one thanking you. Without your guidance, I would not have been able to obtain so many space crystals. I'm leaving now. See you later. Ningqing felt very satisfied in his heart after obtaining so many space crystals. The starry sky spirit chi here is so abundant. Why don't you stay here and cultivate? Mu Wei looked at Ningqing in doubt. Logically speaking, with such rich starry sky essence spirit chi in this place, he should have stayed here to cultivate. No, I have something to do. Ningqing shook his head and replied. He naturally would not stay here to cultivate. He had a lot of things to take care of. How could he waste his time in the traceless gate? Since Ningqing didn't cultivate in this place, it would naturally be better for Mu Wei. This transparent space was only so big, which meant that the starry sky essence spirit chi was also limited. One person staying here to cultivate was naturally better than two people. Brother Ning, we will meet again. Mu Wei also said her goodbyes to Ningqing. Before leaving, Ningqing couldn't help but say, Senior apprentice Sister Mu Wei, if you go out of the traceless gate in the future, be careful of the traceless immortal pond. Why? Mu Wei asked, confused. I suspect that traceless immortal pond started to attack the cultivators who came out of the traceless gate. Ningqing naturally wouldn't help traceless immortal pond hide it. Therefore he told Mu Wei all his speculations. Mu Wei apparently felt shocked by Ningqing's guess. After entering the traceless gate, she had always been thinking about comprehending the laws of space. How could she have the time to think about other things? She finally remembered why Ningcheng had said that if she could get out of the traceless gate in the future. She thought that Ningcheng was afraid that he would get lost in the traceless gate, which was why he couldn't get out. After all, most of the cultivators who couldn't get out of the traceless gate lost their way and couldn't find a way out. Only now did she realize that Ningcheng meant that if she hadn't fallen for Traceless Immortal Pawn's plot. While Mu Wei hesitated for a while, Ningcheng had already left this side of the space and disappeared without a trace. Mu Wei gave out a sigh. She decided to cultivate to the late-stage Eternal Realm before going out. Fortunately, this place was suitable for her cultivation. Just when he wanted to go back, Ningcheng realized that he really was lost. Even though he had touched upon the spatial laws, he still had no sense of direction in this place. He took out the 3 jade strips he bought from Traceless Immortal Pond. But at this moment he still couldn't see the instructions on the jade strips. Clearly, the 3 jade slips had lost their effect in this place. The Traceless Gate contained countless spatial pockets. Ningcheng spent 2 or 3 months wandering through these spatial pockets without interruption, but still couldn't find a way out. Not to mention an exit, there wasn't even a shadow of a person to be seen. 3 months without any progress, which made Ningcheng anxious. He even wondered if it would take him another 4 years to get out of the Traceless Gate. If it took him 4 years to walk out of the Traceless Gate, then it would be fine. However, he was afraid that he would still not be able to walk out of the Traceless Gate after spending 4 years. As another month passed by, Ningcheng finally stopped running around like a headless fly. He decided to try tearing space. The stability of the space here was far inferior to that of the Starry Sky precinct outside. Now that he had mastered the laws of space, his spiritual consciousness could barely touch the outside of this space. He could even touch the boundaries of these spaces. As long as he could tear open these spaces, his chances of getting out would increase by countless times. Tearing space had always been something that powerhouses could do. Ningcheng could touch the boundaries of the precinct in Graceful Star Mainland. It stood to reason that he should have been able to tear open the space of Graceful Star Mainland. However, he didn't do so. As for the space within the Starry Sky, not to mention Ningcheng, even Chuan Xinluo and the 9th Prince couldn't tear it open. Besides Pan Qian and Song Wei, Ningcheng hadn't seen a third cultivator who could directly tear open space. Song Wei tore open the space of Graceful Star Mainland, while Pan Qian tore open the real Starry Sky space. The laws of space within the Traceless Gate were at a higher level compared to Graceful Star Mainland, and the space within it was also much more stable than Graceful Star Mainland. However, it still couldn't compare to the space within the Starry Sky precinct. At first, Ningcheng could only touch space, but it was still a bit difficult to tear it open. But as he continued to try, and even took out space crystals to feel the subtle changes in the laws of space, he slowly began to integrate his space-related spirit techniques. Every time he tore open a space, his fusion of space-related spirit techniques took a step further. In the beginning, Ningcheng had to spend a lot of celestial essence and spiritual consciousness every time he tore open a space. But as he tore open one space after another, Ningcheng could easily tear open the space around him with just a raise of his hand. This feeling made Ningcheng feel very comfortable. It reminded him of Pan Qian tearing through space. When Pan Qian tore through space in front of him, he had also done it with ease. But now he finally reached the point where he could tear open space without using too much energy. The space he tore open now couldn't compare to the space Pan Qian tore open. But as his cultivation continued to rise, one day, he would be able to easily tear open the space of the Starry Sky like Pan Qian. On that day, he wouldn't need to use any breaking boundary talismans, and could easily return to any interface he wanted. Even if he wanted to go to the Devil Domain from Culmination Grand Starry Sky, he wouldn't need to control the Starry Sky will to fly for many days. He could just raise his hand and tear open the void between the two and arrive in one step. If that day really came, it would mark that he was already close to the level of powerhouses like Pan Qian. Ningcheng freely tore open any space around him, and his spiritual consciousness also began to fuse with his laws of space. Previously, His spiritual consciousness could barely pass through these spaces. But now he could easily traverse these spaces. At this moment, Ningqing no longer tore open the surrounding space without a choice. He began to use his spiritual consciousness to touch the countless spaces around him, and then choose one to tear open. At this point, even Ningqing understood that it was only a matter of time before he left this place. After another half a month, Ningqing even felt a vague direction appear in one of the jade strips, which made him feel even more confident. As long as he could find a direction, it meant that he was about to reach the Traceless Immortal Pawn's control. As long as he reached the Traceless Immortal Pawn's control, he would be able to see the people from Traceless Immortal Pond. Just when Ningqing planned to tear open the space according to the direction indicated in the jade strip, his spiritual consciousness suddenly sensed a rich life force coming from one of the spaces. Ningqing didn't even think about it before turning around and tearing open the space filled with life force. Traceless Gate contained top-grade starry sky spiritual grasses, which Ningqing had long heard about. It's just that he had entered Traceless Gate for many years and had never encountered a space filled with life force. Now that he encountered one, how could he miss it? When Ningqing landed in this space and saw the surrounding scene, he suddenly felt pleasantly surprised. This was simply a natural starry sky spiritual medicine garden. What did he see? There were dozens of starry sky grade 9 spiritual grasses, and he even saw a few stalks of radish grass with ripe fruits. He thought back to the time when he fought against Duan Gantai for a single radish grass, and now he saw dozens of radish grasses. Ningqing naturally wouldn't let go of these grade 9 starry sky spiritual grasses. However, before digging, his spiritual sense still swept through the space around him. What puzzled him was that this space not only contained starry sky spiritual grasses, but also cultivators and even some low-level demonic beasts. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness detected at least 3 cave mansions. These 3 cave mansions were located in the triangle of a lake, surrounding the lake. In any case, Ningqing wouldn't give up on these starry sky spiritual grasses, just because there were cultivators living here. Although he couldn't use the radish grass, there were many people in the mysterious yellow sect who could use it. Moreover, Ningqing also knew that the starry sky spiritual grasses here were all wild and not artificially planted. Since they were wild things, anyone could naturally dig them up. Thinking of this, Ningqing decided to let 3 cultivators come here first. However, they didn't dig up all the starry sky spiritual grasses here. Ningqing also showed mercy, and only collected a quarter of them. A quarter was more than enough for Ningqing. Therefore, he felt very satisfied with entering the Traceless Gate. Stop! A cold voice rang out in the air, and a handsome male cultivator with long hair appeared in front of Ningqing. Even if no one came out to stop him, Ningqing didn't plan to dig up any more starry sky spiritual grasses after digging up a quarter of them. After all, he was the last one to come here. Ningqing still had a bottom line about this. Leave the ring and get out of here. The handsome male cultivator stared at Ningqing with a cold gaze. A jet-black longsword circled around him. As his words came out, the murderous aura from the jet-black longsword merged with his domain and vaguely locked onto Ningqing. Ningqing frowned. He even wanted to leave his ring behind. Wasn't this too much? This male cultivator had middle-stage eternal cultivation, and a condensed celestial will behind him. Apparently, he was an expert. Not waiting for Ningqing to speak, 2 more figures landed in front of Ningqing. Ningqing noticed that these 3 people had come out of 3 different caves. This time, the 2 people who came over were a man and a woman. The male cultivator had a slightly dark complexion. Although not as handsome as the male cultivator who came first, he had a well-defined face. Moreover, his cultivation was the same as the handsome male cultivator, at the middle stage eternal realm. Ningqing's gaze fell on the female cultivator, and couldn't help but secretly applaud in his heart. What a beautiful woman! Her long black hair was tied up in a flying immortal bun, which matched with her white oval face. It made her look ethereal and refined. Her eyes looked bright and pure, but Ningqing could feel the vicissitudes of the world, and the vicissitudes of life within them. Although it wasn't a tight dress, it could still set off her chest and let people feel that her waist was as thin as a hand. Moreover, her cultivation wasn't any weaker than the 2 male cultivators. They were also middle-stage eternal cultivators. When the three stood together, they looked like a handsome man and a beautiful woman. Even the positions of the three people seemed to have a tacit understanding. The woman stood in the middle, while the two men stood on the left and right. Ningcheng had also fallen in love before, so he understood at a glance that these two male cultivators were pursuing this female cultivator. Chapter 8:22. Did you ask me to leave the ring behind? Ningcheng's tone turned cold. He stretched out his hand, and the celestial rainbow purgatory spear appeared in it. Wait a minute. The beautiful woman in the middle suddenly spoke up. The male cultivator, who was about to start, immediately restrained his murderous aura when he heard the beautiful woman's words. It seemed that he cared a lot about this female cultivator's words. Since the other party didn't start, Ningcheng naturally wouldn't do anything. He also didn't put away the celestial rainbow purgatory spear. The beautiful female cultivator gave Ningcheng a starry sky cultivator's salute before speaking up slowly. This Dao friend, we indeed came here first. However, you are at fault for digging up the starry sky spirit grasses here. Ningcheng also felt a little embarrassed. Although he knew that these starry sky spirit grasses were ownerless, the other party came here first. This female cultivator's every action and gesture brought with it a noble and untainted aura, which made people unable to feel angry. The female cultivator didn't wait for Ningcheng to answer, and spoke to the handsome male cultivator. Senior apprentice brother Zhua. These starry sky spirit grasses are indeed ownerless. Although we came here first, we didn't manage to keep them in captivity. Therefore this Dao friend came here and dug up some of them. I believe that this Dao friend is also a reasonable person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have only dug up a quarter of them. The beautiful woman's words weren't wrong. Replaced by an ordinary cultivator, few would have abided by principles like Ningcheng. Not to mention that these starry sky spirit grasses were ownerless. Even if they had an owner, this person would have dug up all the starry sky spirit grasses in the first place. Ningcheng made up his mind. If the other party insisted on taking these starry sky spirit grasses, he would take out some permanent essence pills. He had a sect, and the sect's disciples naturally needed some top-grade medicinal pills. If he wanted to go to the 5 grand realms in the future, he couldn't leave the sect behind. At least, he had to leave behind some inheritances. Seeing the beautiful woman looking at him again, Ningcheng didn't wait for her to speak and spoke up with cupped fists. In that case, I'm willing to take out some things to compensate you. The beautiful woman spoke up softly. These starry sky grade 9 spiritual grasses are indeed precious. But in fact, Dao friend doesn't have much use for them. Few people in the starry sky can refine starry sky grade 9 medicinal pills. Even if there were a pill emperor who could refine starry sky grade 9 medicinal pills, Dao friend might not find it easy to meet them. This female cultivator spoke in a very euphemistic manner. Although she said that it was difficult to meet, it meant that it would be useless for him to take away these high-grade starry sky spirit grasses. Not to mention that you couldn't find someone to help you refine pills. Even if you found such an alchemy emperor and wanted to ask him to refine pills for you, he wouldn't even bother with you. As for Ningcheng saying that he would take out something to compensate her, she did not even care about it. With Ningcheng's cultivation, what good things could he come up with? The two people next to the beautiful woman did not speak. They could clearly see that Ningcheng's cultivation was ordinary, at most in the life and death realm. The celestial wheels behind Ningcheng were in disarray, and he didn't have the demeanor of a powerhouse at all. So, how could his cultivation be high? Ningcheng showed a faint smile. He himself was a starry sky grade 9 pill emperor, so why would he need someone else to help him refine pills? Besides, Grand Culmination Starry Sky's premier pill emperor Tsang Tsaiha was also in his sect. If you don't mind, you can stay here for the time being. Senior apprentice brother Wuxia was a starry sky grade 8 pill emperor. Therefore, it wouldn't take long for him to advance to starry sky grade 9. Once senior apprentice brother Wuxia advanced to a tier 9 pill emperor, Dao friend's starry sky spiritual grasses can also be turned into medicinal pills. To be honest, even Ningcheng appreciated the demeanor of this beautiful woman. The senior apprentice brother Wuxia mentioned by this beautiful woman, should be the middle stage eternal male cultivator, who came with her. Ningqing couldn't tell that this male cultivator was a starry sky grade 8 pill emperor. Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness quickly swept through a large open space in the distance. He quickly saw that there were more than just these starry sky spiritual grasses here. From the looks of it, this senior apprentice brother Wuxia had dug out most of the starry sky spiritual grasses for alchemy. This fellow had dug out so many starry sky spiritual grasses for practice, yet he barely reached the level of a starry sky grade 8 pill emperor. As a starry sky grade 9 pill emperor, Ningqing naturally understood that with senior apprentice brother Wuxia's alchemy aptitude, even if this senior apprentice brother Wuxia used all the starry sky spiritual grasses here for practice, he wouldn't be able to advance to the level of a starry sky grade 9 pill emperor. Many thanks, senior apprentice sister. But I have something urgent to do and need to go back. So I won't be staying here. Ningqing refused without hesitation. The beautiful woman frowned slightly, and the senior apprentice brother Wuxia next to her spoke up with a slightly hoarse voice. As far as I know, it's very difficult to come out of this vitality space. I wonder how this Dao friend managed to come here. Ningqing saw that the beautiful female cultivator had also paid attention to this sentence, and understood that this sentence was the focus of the three people's attention. Ningqing spoke up calmly. I have a position-indicating weapon that can help me find the way out of the traceless gate. This place is the only way out, so I came here. Ningqing naturally didn't have a position-indicating weapon, but he could tear through space. After the three people heard Ningqing's words, they all looked at each other. Then the beautiful woman spoke up with a slightly surprised tone. Do you really have a position-indicating weapon that can help you get out of the traceless gate? Ningqing nodded. Yes, I can indeed get out of this place. The female cultivator's tone turned even softer. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zhaichu Man. These two senior apprentice brothers are Bianzhua and Xiong Wuxi. I wonder if this friend can take us out with you? Naturally. Ningqing spoke up without hesitation. Even if he didn't tear through space, he could still find a way out of this place. Bianzhua was the cultivator with a handsome face, while Xiong Wuxi was the male cultivator with a dark complexion and a well-defined face. Ningqing noticed that when Zhaichu Man said that she wanted to go out, Xiong Wuxi's eyes showed a hint of joy, while Bianzhua's eyes showed a bit of reluctance. Most likely, they thought that once they got out, they would have few opportunities to contact Zhaichu Man. Many thanks. Zhaichu Man quickly thanked him and then added, in that case, these starry sky spirit grasses can be considered as a reward for this friend. Ningqing naturally agreed. The three people didn't ask Ningqing's name, and Ningqing also didn't say it. He understood that these three people didn't put him in their eyes. They even skipped the process of asking for his name. After the four people reached this agreement, Zhaichuman's group of three quickly collected all the starry sky spirit grasses in this place. Seeing that the few people had finished collecting the things in the vicinity, Ningqing took the lead and rushed out of this space filled with vitality. Zhaichuman's group of three quickly followed behind Ningqing. Seeing Ningqing switch between spaces at a fast speed, Zhaichuman's group of three couldn't help but admire him. Even if Ningqing had a top-grade position-type weapon, he definitely wasn't a simple person to be able to switch between spaces within the traceless gate so quickly. In just half a day, Ningqing stopped. According to the Traceless Immortal Pawn's Jade Strip, this space was the exit. Why did you stop? Bianzhua stared at Ningqing and frowned. Ningqing had not yet spoken, when two figures quickly rushed over. These were two life and death cultivators. When the two people saw Zhaichuman's group of four, they immediately exclaimed, Sacred Lady Man. Sacred Lady Man. Ningqing saw Zhaichu Man nod and walk up. Only then did he realize that this Zhaichu Man was the Traceless Immortal Pawn's Sacred Lady. Traceless Immortal Pawn, this black shop, actually had a Sacred Lady. What a joke. At the same time, his impression of Zhaichu Man worsened. Traceless Immortal Pawn's Sacred Lady. How good could she be? Let's go back to the sect. Seeing the two life and death cultivators wanting to say something, Zhaichu Man waved her hand and spoke with an indifferent tone. Every move she made exuded a noble momentum. From this, one could tell that even after she lost her way in the traceless gate, She hadn't lost her sacred lady's temperament. Yes. The two life and death cultivators quickly led Zhai Chuman forward, while Ning Cheng and the others naturally followed behind. Xiong Wuji patted Ning Cheng's shoulder and pointed to the jade strip in Ning Cheng's hand with a smile. Friend, you just mentioned a position-type weapon. Don't tell me it's this position-type jade strip? Ning Cheng felt that Xiong Wuji wasn't a bad person, but it was an intuition. He smiled and chuckled. You're right, it's my direction indicating magic treasure. You're amazing. Xiong Wuji gave Ning Cheng a thumbs up and praised him. Ning Cheng naturally knew that he was being sarcastic, but he didn't care. Bianzhua gave a cold snort and didn't speak. If they had known that Ning Cheng's position-type weapon was this jade strip, the three of them would never have followed Ning Cheng out. The probability of such a thing coming out was pitifully low. Who would rely on such a thing? Even Zhai Chuman, who was walking in front, shook her head when she heard the conversation between Ning Cheng and Xiong Wuji. She actually believed that Ning Cheng had a position-type weapon and could enter and exit the traceless gate at will. Fortunately, this ignorant cultivator had good luck and really came out. Several people soon arrived outside a huge building. After walking in, they found a huge teleportation array inside. The two life and death cultivators respectfully led Zhai Chuman into the teleportation array before retreating. Bianzhua and Xiong Wuji naturally entered the teleportation array, without hesitation. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept over the teleportation array for a while, and confirmed that there were no problems. Only then did he enter the teleportation array under Zhai Chuman's puzzled gaze. Ning Cheng could also set up this teleportation array now. The teleportation array activated, and the place where the four people stepped on was the platform from which they had entered the traceless gate. For cultivators in the Eternal Realm, one at the early stage Eternal Realm, one at the middle stage Eternal Realm, and two at the late stage Eternal Realm. Apparently, Traceless Immortal Pond had long since heard about the return of Traceless Immortal Pond's sacred lady, and came here in advance to welcome them. Ning Cheng recognized the early stage Eternal Cultivator. She was the middle-aged female cultivator who had escorted him into the Traceless Gate. Ning Cheng secretly sighed at Traceless Immortal Pond's heritage. With this kind of strength, even Demon Domain's Heavenly Emperor Zhangkong Tianji would feel some fear. Welcome back to the Immortal Pond, Sacred Lady Man. The four Eternal Cultivators spoke up in unison. Even the two late-stage Eternal Cultivators showed respect to Zhai Chuman. Ha, it's you. The middle-aged female cultivator immediately recognized Ning Cheng, and her eyes showed surprise. To be honest, Ning Cheng was the first person to come out of the Traceless Gate in just a few years. In the history of the Traceless Gate, such a thing had never happened. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. It's me. I thought it was a waste of time inside, so I came out first. Everyone, goodbye. According to Traceless Immortal Pond's words, since he brought back the Traceless Immortal Pond's sacred lady, he should have received a reward. However, Ning Cheng was in a hurry to go back and didn't want to cause trouble. Besides, he didn't care about the reward. Seeing Ning Cheng about to step on the chain connected to the boulder platform, the middle-aged female cultivator called out without hesitation. This Dao friend, please wait a minute. Chapter 823. What else do I have to wait for? I already paid 10,000 permanent essence pills to enter the Traceless Gate. Do I still have to pay permanent essence pills to come out? Ning Cheng's face sank. The middle-aged female cultivator quickly replied, Of course not. Why would my Traceless Immortal Pond ask for permanent essence pills from our guests? Presumably, this friend also knows about it. My Traceless Immortal Pond also has a task. All those who enter the Traceless Gate and bring out our Traceless Gate's disciples will receive some permanent essence pills as a reward. Since you brought out our Traceless Immortal Pond's sacred lady, you have already completed this task. Naturally, we can't let you leave Traceless Immortal Pond empty-handed. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. He didn't believe that Traceless Immortal Pond would be so kind. He asked with an indifferent tone, I wonder how many rewards I can get for bringing back Traceless Immortal Pond's sacred lady? If it's too little, I'm not interested in taking it. Others might not know about Ning Cheng's wealth, But this middle-aged female cultivator naturally knew about it. Ningqing didn't even bat an eye when he took out 500,000 permanent essence pills to buy the jade strip. The middle-aged female cultivator wanted to speak, but Ningqing suddenly interrupted her. Traceless immortal pond lost in the traceless gate. Isn't Sacred Lady Man the most respected person I brought out? The middle-aged female cultivator paused slightly before understanding Ningqing's meaning. She nodded and said, "You're right. In the traceless gate, Sacred Lady Man is the most respected person in my traceless immortal pond." Ningqing suddenly spoke up. "When I went in, Dao Friend said that the lowest reward for bringing out Traceless Immortal Pond's disciples is 100,000 permanent essence pills, and the highest reward is 100 million permanent essence pills. Since I brought out Sacred Lady Man, does that mean I can get a reward of 100 million permanent essence pills this time?" The middle-aged female cultivator showed a faint smile. "Dao Friend is right. You can indeed get a reward of 100 million permanent essence pills." The other three eternal cultivators who came to greet Zhai Chuman had calm expressions. They didn't think that the middle-aged female cultivator's words were too outrageous. Zhai Chuman looked at the middle-aged female cultivator in surprise. 100 million permanent essence pills, it was simply too terrifying. Even Xiong Wuxia and Bianzhua looked at Ningqing in shock. 100 million permanent essence pills, how much was that? When Ningqing saw Zhai Chuman's expression, he understood that Zhai Chuman didn't know about Traceless Immortal Pond's black shop. It immediately improved Ningqing's impression of Zhai Chuman. "Then lead the way. I'll go and collect the permanent essence pills. Although I'm rich, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't be tempted by 100 million permanent essence pills." Ningqing stopped and decided to reveal his wealth. Since they were going to fight, there was no need to be polite. Ningqing felt sure that this middle-aged female cultivator wouldn't take the initiative to give him 100 million permanent essence pills. This clearly indicated that she wanted to take action against him. If someone offended him, then Ningqing would never be a nice gentleman who would try to keep the peace. If Traceless Immortal Pond really kept its promise, and took out so many permanent essence pills, he would act as if nothing had happened. Since Traceless Immortal Pond dared to make a move against him, destroying Traceless Immortal Pond would also create some benefits for the Starry Skies cultivators and himself. Following the middle-aged female cultivator leading the way, they once again walked past the chain, and nothing unexpected happened along the way. Ningqing guessed that since Traceless Immortal Pond's Sacred Lady didn't know about it, Traceless Immortal Pond's shady business had to be hidden from the Sacred Lady. "Sacred Lady Man, Sect Master hasn't come out of seclusion yet. You can go to the Sacred Lady Hall first. We'll arrange for Dao Friend Xiong and Dao Friend Bian." After walking through the chain, the middle-aged female cultivator immediately gave a respectful bow to Zhai Chuman. A late-stage eternal cultivator echoed, "Junior apprentice Sister Qiansong is right. Sacred Lady Man's return is a major event for our Traceless Immortal Pond. Our sect will hold a return ceremony to celebrate Sacred Lady Man's advancement to the Eternal Realm. Secondly, to celebrate Sacred Lady Man's return to the sect." When Ningqing heard this, he realized that Zhai Chuman wasn't an eternal cultivator when she entered the Traceless Gate. But now Zhai Chuman was at the middle stage Eternal Realm. Ningqing didn't know how long she had stayed in the Traceless Gate. He guessed that she had obtained a lot of treasures. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy to cultivate to the Eternal Realm in the Traceless Gate. Zhai Chuman also felt that something was wrong. But because Ningqing wasn't mentioned, she looked at Ningqing in doubt. Just as she was about to speak, the middle-aged female cultivator spoke up. "This Dao Friend brought Sacred Lady Man out of the Traceless Gate. We have to thank him. I'll take care of these things. Sacred Lady Man, you don't have to worry about it." Zhai Chuman felt that something was wrong. Regardless of whether saving her was a trivial matter or not, a reward of 100 million permanent essence pills wasn't a trivial matter. This kind of thing, only an elder casually handled it? Didn't he need to face the entire sect's disciples in the sect's meeting? "Elder Qiansong, I think I should thank him myself for this matter." After Zhai Chuman spoke to the middle-aged female cultivator, she deliberately walked up to Ningqing and asked, "Dao Friend brought the three of us out of the Traceless Gate. I don't know how to address this, Dao friend. If Ningcheng had come and left without a reward of 100 million permanent essence pills, Zhai Chuman might not have asked for Ningcheng's name. After all, Ningcheng and she had a deal. After everyone came out, they didn't know each other anything. But now that there was a reward of 100 million permanent essence pills, it made Zhai Chuman feel a little puzzled. No matter how big the reward was, it shouldn't be this many permanent essence pills. What made her even more puzzled was that this reward of so many permanent essence pills could be casually handled by an elder. It felt a little too outrageous. Ningcheng showed a slight smile. My name is Ningcheng. The middle-aged female cultivator's face showed some embarrassment. Give Ningcheng 100 million permanent essence pills? How could that be possible? Moreover, from now on, Ningcheng couldn't leave their sight. The late-stage eternal cultivator, who had previously said that he wanted to hold a celebration, quickly spoke up. Sacred Lady Man, junior apprentice Sister Qian Song can handle these things. You should take a break first. Sect Master might come out of seclusion in a while. We have to focus on important matters. Zhai Chuman nodded. Okay, Elder Zhu Yang. After that, she turned to Ningcheng and said, Dao friend Ning, you go first. I'll come and say goodbye to you later. When Ningcheng heard Zhai Chuman's words, he immediately understood that Zhai Chuman had some doubts. She said that she would come and see him off later, which meant that she meant it. Seeing that Sacred Lady Man finally agreed to leave, the middle-aged female cultivator breathed a sigh of relief and took Ningcheng away with the other middle-stage eternal cultivator. Brother Ning, wait. This time, it was Xiong Wuji who stopped Ningcheng. Seeing everyone looking at him, Xiong Wuji smiled and said to Zhai Chuman, Junior apprentice Sister Chuman, it's all thanks to Brother Ningcheng that we could come out this time. I think Brother Ningcheng is a good person and want to talk to him more. In addition, I won't be attending Junior apprentice Sister Chuman's celebration. When Brother Ningcheng leaves, I will also leave with Brother Ningcheng. Bianzhua sneered and said, Brother Xiong, I don't think you want to go with Ningcheng because he wants the reward of 100 million permanent essence pills, right? Xiong Wuji showed a smile. If you say so, then so be it. Ningcheng knew that Xiong Wuji didn't come with him for the reward of 100 million permanent essence pills. Xiong Wuji most likely wanted to go with him because he felt that pursuing Zhai Chuman wouldn't yield any results. Zhai Chuman naturally understood Xiong Wuji's temperament and said with a smile, All right, then senior apprentice Brother Wuji will go with Dao friend Ning first. After I greet Master and Sect Master, I will come and say goodbye to you. Xiong Wuji wasn't from Traceless Immortal Pond. Moreover, Zhai Chuman had also made it clear that Traceless Immortal Pond's people couldn't stop Xiong Wuji from going with Ningcheng. Otherwise, it would be too obvious. Ningcheng and Xiong Wuji followed the two eternal cultivators to a luxurious-looking reception hall. As a top-notch Starry Sky Array Emperor, Ningcheng could tell that it was a combination of many top-grade entrapment and killing formations the moment he entered the reception hall. After the two eternal-level cultivators brought Ningcheng, they immediately left. Xiong Wuji casually swept out with his spiritual consciousness before speaking to Ningcheng with a smile. Brother Ning, your cultivation isn't that high. Yet you dared to break into the Traceless Gate. It really surprised me. It was normal for the reception hall to have many array formations. After all, Traceless Immortal Pond was also a major sect. It would have been strange if it didn't have any array formations. Ningcheng smiled. Dao friend Wuji, your cultivation isn't much higher than mine. If you can break through, why can't I? Xiong Wuji didn't get angry. Instead he nodded. That's true. When I entered the Traceless Gate, I was only at the middle stage life and death realm, which isn't much higher than you. But Brother Ningcheng, I treat you as a friend, yet you call me Dao friend. It's a bit like an outsider. He thought that Ningcheng was referring to his cultivation when he first entered the Traceless Gate. At that time, he was indeed in the life and death realm. A cultivator in the life and death realm, who entered the Traceless Gate, couldn't be considered a powerhouse. Let's not talk about being an outsider. Dao friend Wuji and I haven't known each other for a long time, and we don't seem to be friends. I don't think Dao friend Wuji should be sitting here with me right now. Instead, you should be trying to please Sacred Lady Man. Ningcheng spoke up casually. Xiong Wuji sighed and said, I already knew that it wouldn't work out. Only Bianzhuo would stay here with such infatuation. Let's not talk about this. Brother Ningcheng, when you dug out a quarter of the starry sky spiritual grasses, I knew that you were a worthy friend. If it were me, I would have dug out at least half of them. Don't look at Bianzhuo's reprimanding you at that time. If it were him, I'm sure he would have dug out those starry sky spiritual grasses. I guess only junior apprentice sister man would have calmed down and not touched those starry sky spiritual grasses. Ningqing agreed with Xiong Wuji's words. You're right. If you and sacred lady man hadn't come out, I would have already taught him a lesson. Xiong Wuji naturally thought that Ningqing was bragging. He smiled again. The next time you want to teach Bianzhuo a lesson, I will help you. In fact, Bianzhuo is a good person. He has a heavy murderous heart, and is also very arrogant. However, he isn't a despicable person. This is also the reason why I can barely be his neighbor. Of course, he also generously gave me a lot of starry sky spiritual grasses for alchemy. That's another reason. As the two chatted, the middle-aged female cultivator named Qiansong walked in again, and said to Xiong Wuji, Dao friend Xiong, sacred lady man invites you over. When Xiong Wuji heard Zhai Chu man calling him over, he immediately stood up and said to Ningcheng, Brother Ning, I'll go see sacred lady man first. I'll talk to you when I come back. Ningcheng stood up and sent Xiong Wuji out. He estimated that Xiong Wuji wouldn't be in much danger. He had stayed in the Traceless Gate to cultivate for a long time. Even if he had some cultivation resources, he would have already used them up. Plus, he was Zhai Chuman's friend. Therefore, Traceless Immortal Pond would have to give him some face. Xiong Wuji had just left when a middle-stage Eternal Cultivator walked in. When he came in, he activated the restrictions around the guest hall. Chapter 824. Thank you for sending the permanent essence pills. As soon as the middle-stage Eternal Cultivator came in, Ningcheng stood up with a smile. The Eternal Cultivator sighed. You're too greedy. Otherwise, you would have had a chance to escape. My name is Lu Bingsun, remember it. Ningqing spoke up calmly. Even if I'm not greedy, I can't escape. This father already knew about Traceless Immortal Pond when I entered the Traceless Gate. It would be strange if Traceless Immortal Pond would let a cultivator who bought a jade strip and doubted Traceless Immortal Pond walk out of here. Lu Bingsun froze when he heard Ningcheng's words. What kind of rhythm was this? You know? After a few breaths, Lu Bingsun subconsciously asked. Ningcheng looked at Lu Bingsun with a meaningful look. What do you think? I have a lot of things to do and don't want to waste time here. Unfortunately, you came looking for me. If Lu Bingsun didn't know that Ningcheng had nothing to fear, he would be a fool. He instantly threw out a fiery red flying sword, and at the same time, his domain pressed down on Ningcheng. At the same time, he also brought out a round weapon. Since Ningcheng knew about this and still dared to stay here, it meant that he had nothing to fear. If Lu Bingsun didn't call for help, he would only be courting death. Ningcheng didn't stop Lu Bingsun from calling for help. But what Lu Bingsun didn't know was that whether he called for help or not, he would still die. His domain pressing down on Ningcheng felt like ice and snow meeting a flame. As soon as it touched Ningcheng's domain, it exploded and turned into nothingness. Lu Bingsun felt shocked. He knew that Ningcheng hadn't released his domain's imposing manner at all. But even in such a situation, he couldn't resist the suppression. From this, it could be seen that he wasn't Ningcheng's opponent. Lu Bingsun didn't even have time to take back the weapon he used to attack Ningcheng, and immediately tried to retreat. At this time, Ningcheng's celestial rainbow purgatory spear tore through the void between the two, and the powerful spear intent directly enveloped Lu Bingsun. Before Lu Bingsun could react, the long spear had already pierced through his body. Laws of space. Lu Bingsun fell to the ground. He didn't even have the chance to escape with his essence spirit. He knew that even if his essence spirit escaped, he would only die again. The moment he fell, he knew that Traceless Immortal Pond was in trouble. If one often walks by the river, one's shoes will indeed get wet. Back in the Traceless Immortal Pond, he had just touched upon the laws of space. But Ningcheng's usage of the laws of space had already reached a high level. Ningcheng also couldn't believe his eyes as he looked at the long spear in his hands. He was prepared to use Traceless to kill Lu Bingsen. Lu Bingsen, a fellow who had just advanced to the middle stage Eternal Realm, couldn't stop his spear, which was within his expectations. To his surprise, his spatial laws automatically merged with Traceless, making Traceless even more traceless. It turned out that Ningcheng's Traceless spirit technique came from observing someone else's spear. Therefore, he knew that that spear contained the laws of space. Although he didn't understand the laws of space in the past, he could use his spiritual consciousness and celestial essence to make the trajectory of his spear cross the spatial distance between him and his opponent in the shortest time. No matter how short it was, there was still time. But today, when he used Traceless, he actually fused it with his space mystique and completely melted the trajectory of his spear. He simply ignored the void space between him and Lu Bingsen, and killed Lu Bingsen with a single spear strike. Ningcheng put away Lu Bingsen's ring, and quickly threw out dozens of array flags. The moment he threw out the array flags, two figures rushed in. These were two of the 4 eternal cultivators who had come to pick up Princess Man. One was a late-stage eternal cultivator, and the other was a middle-stage eternal cultivator. Traceless Immortal Pond really has a lot of eternal ants. Ningcheng spoke with sarcasm. The cultivators who could come to Traceless Gate were naturally powerhouses among powerhouses. Which one of these powerhouses didn't have amazing wealth? These powerhouses came from various starry skies, so what treasures did they not have? Traceless Immortal Pond opened a black shop, and took the wealth of these powerhouses for themselves. It was impossible for them not to be powerful. You killed Elder Bingsen? The middle-stage eternal cultivator looked at Lu Bingsen, who had fallen to the ground, in shock and couldn't believe it. He immediately brought out a weapon. Since Ningcheng could kill Lu Bingsen, he naturally could kill him. However, the late-stage eternal cultivator immediately activated the killing array around the guest hall as soon as he came in. He understood that Traceless Immortal Pond had kicked an iron plate this time. It wasn't that Traceless Immortal Pond hadn't kicked an iron plate before. Once they even lost 3 eternal cultivators. However, they still managed to kill a powerhouse with the array formation, and obtain 12 eternal emperor continuance pills from that powerhouse. As soon as the killing array activated, the 2 eternal cultivators lost track of Ningcheng. The middle stage eternal cultivator spoke up in shock. Elder Kuei, this doesn't seem right. He should have lost track of us after activating the killing array. How come we lost track of him? Ningcheng's cold voice came over. You're right. Next time, remember not to rely on the Tao of arrays to fight against others. I was wrong. There won't be a next time. Following Ningcheng's voice, endless spatial blade lights bombarded the killing array. Not only did the 2 eternal cultivators' spiritual consciousnesses get suppressed by the killing array, but even their celestial essence also got suppressed by it. Facing so many spatial blade lights, the 2 had no choice but to bring out weapons to block them. At this moment, they didn't even know where Ningcheng was, so how could they attack Ningcheng? A poignant setting sun appeared in front of the 2, leaving them in a daze. Although they weren't the ones who arranged the killing array around the guest hall, it belonged to Traceless Immortal Pond. The 2 naturally understood that this killing array didn't contain any beautiful scenery like the setting sun. Elder Kuei, something's wrong. I can't break free. The middle stage eternal cultivator exclaimed. Not to mention that they were trapped by the killing array. Even without the killing array, they couldn't break free from Ningcheng's sunset's twilight. Besides, Ningcheng was an array emperor, who was infinitely close to becoming an array Tao master. With him personally controlling the array formation to bind these 2, it would have been a strange thing if these 2 could break free. How could Elder Kuei have time to care about this middle stage eternal cultivator? When the setting sun appeared, and everything around him came to a standstill, he knew that it was over. This was a laws of time-related spirit technique, a spirit technique that could bind his laws of time-related spirit technique. He might only have one end, that is, waiting for death. He had advanced to the late-stage eternal realm in Traceless Immortal Pond, so he naturally didn't want to wait for death. But at this moment, why would he care about the killing lights and spatial blade lights in the killing array? He only knew that he had to crazily burn his essence, blood, and lifespan. As long as he could break free, he would immediately escape, as far as he could. Was he an elder of Traceless Immortal Pond? Fuck off to the side. Perhaps even Zhangkong Tianji of Demon Domain wouldn't dare to offend such an expert. Traceless Immortal Pond wanted to die, but he didn't want to die. Ning Cheng's slightly soft voice transmitted over. This elder, do you want to leave? Wait until you eat this spear. Don't do it. I'll do anything you want me to. Elder Kuei was scared out of his wits. The little bit of imposing aura he had just stirred up dissipated without a trace. The next moment, the celestial rainbow purgatory spear's light-colored spear shadow pierced through his glabella, and a bright red flower of blood blossomed within the killing array. The middle stage eternal cultivator, bound by Ning Cheng's sunset's twilight, turned completely sluggish when he saw the bright red flower of blood. Ning Cheng didn't even need to do anything. Countless killing lights within the killing array had already entered his body. Only that scream showed that he still had a bit of consciousness. Chuman greets sect master, greets master. Zhai Chuman walked into a slightly dimly lit room and bowed. Some low-pitched, strange music filled the room, making Zhai Chuman feel a little unnatural. Even if she was a sacred lady, she didn't come into this room many times. At the top of the room sat a middle-aged man with a white face. This middle-aged man had long hair, even longer than Zhai Chuman's. On the lower right side of this middle-aged man sat an extremely beautiful female cultivator. In terms of looks alone, this female cultivator didn't lose out to Zhai Chuman. But if one looked at the mature womanly charm emanating from her, she might even be more attractive than Zhai Chuman. This middle-aged man was Traceless Immortal Pond's sect master Wu Yuankong, and the female cultivator sitting next to him was Zhai Chuman's master, Pu Yinxiang. After Zhai Chuman greeted her, Pu Yinxiang gave in but didn't speak. Wu Yuankong looked at Zhai Chuman from top to bottom for a while before nodding with satisfaction. Man, you advanced to the Eternal Realm in Traceless Gate, and even cultivated to the middle stage Eternal Realm. You didn't let me down. My Traceless Immortal Pond will have to rely on you in the future. Zhai Chuman quickly replied. Chuman, as the Traceless Immortal Pond's sacred lady, wouldn't dare to neglect it. After saying this, Zhai Chuman hesitated for a moment, but still spoke up. Sect Master, the Immortal Pond even offered 100 million permanent essence pills as a reward for me. Isn't that too much? Wu Yuankong showed a slight smile. Chuman, you're already at the middle stage Eternal Realm. There are some things I should tell you. As Wu Yuankong spoke till here, he glanced at Zhai Chuman's master, Pu Yinxiang. Pu Yinxiang nodded and spoke with a soft voice. Chuman, do you know about the realm above the Eternal Realm? Zhai Chuman hesitated for a moment, but still nodded. I've heard about it. After cultivators reach the Eternal Realm, there's a higher realm. That's Dao-confirming realm. Wu Yuankong followed with a sigh. How many cultivators cultivating in this side of space know that even if we cultivate to the full circle of the Eternal Realm, even if we succeed in Dao-confirming realm, we still haven't set foot in the world of powerhouses? Seeing the surprise on Zhai Chuman's face after hearing the words, Pu Yinxiang spoke up even more softly. Chuman, you don't have to worry. Maybe no one in the 4 grand starry skies can leave this side of the world, but my Traceless Immortal Pond can. The first sect master of Traceless Immortal Pond left this side of the world and went to a higher level positional plane. The reason why my Traceless Immortal Pond can do what others can't is not only because of our Traceless Gate, but also because of our endless top-grade cultivation methods and cultivation resources. Zhai Chuman naturally knew about this. Every cultivator who entered Traceless Immortal Pond had to pay a lot of permanent essence pills. Therefore, Traceless Immortal Pond naturally had a lot of wealth. Not only did she know about this, but in the 4 grand starry skies, who didn't know about Traceless Immortal Pond's wealth? What she wanted to know was who the first sect master to enter a higher level positional plane was. Although she had been a sacred lady for a long time, she didn't know much about it. Master, who was the first sect master of my Traceless Immortal Pond? Zhai Chuman not only wanted to know, but also asked. Chapter 825. His name is Bai Ziding. You might not know this name, but you should know Taoist Crow. Wu Yuankong took the initiative to answer Zhai Chuman's question. Zhai Chuman immediately nodded. I know about Taoist Crow. He reached Tao confirming on Crow Star, and is famous throughout the 4 grand starry skies. The matter of Taoist Crow reaching the Tao confirming realm on the Crow Star, as well as the fact that his descendants ended up stranded in the ancient Desolace abandoned land from the Crow Star, was a well-known matter throughout the starry skies. Even if Zhai Chuman did not care about the outside world, she had also heard about it. Wu Yuankong spoke up. Sect Master Bai's first enemy is Taoist Crow. Perhaps in Taoist Crow's eyes, my traceless immortal pawn's first sect master is also his life and death enemy. Despite being chased by Sect Master Bai, he was still able to hide on the Crow Star to prove his Tao. If Ningcheng were here and heard these words, he would naturally remember who Bai Ziding was. When he first obtained Taoist Crow's things, Taoist Crow had left him a message. As for how Taoist Crow and Bai Ziding became enemies, Taoist Crow did not leave behind a single word. Zhai Chuman never expected that Taoist Crow, the person she worshipped the most, would turn out to be the enemy of Traceless Immortal Pawn's first sect master. I'll tell you about this later. I'm telling you this to let you know that anyone from my Traceless Immortal Pawn has the opportunity to rush out of this side of space and head to the positional planes of the true powerhouses for cultivation. Of course, the premise is that we must occupy the Traceless Gate and have access to countless cultivation resources. Wu Yuankong's tone turned solemn. Zhai Chuman nodded. I know. My Traceless Immortal Pond guards the Traceless Gate. Cultivators who come in naturally have to pay permanent essence pills. I will definitely help Traceless Immortal Pond protect the Traceless Gate. I will not let Sect Master down. Chuman, it's not just that. Once someone tries to harm the interests of my Traceless Immortal Pond, we can't let them go. Even the person who brought you out of the Traceless Gate is the same. You must remember at all times, the interests of the sect are above everything else. Pu Yinxiang's gentle tone also became solemn. Zhai Chuman looked at the sect master and master in front of her in confusion. After a while, she hesitantly asked, Master, are you saying that the 100 million permanent essence pills reward to Ningqing is fake? In fact, does our Traceless Immortal Pond want to keep him here? She was not a fool. She had her doubts before. Now that her master had spoken so bluntly, she would be too slow if she still didn't suspect it. Even so, Zhai Chuman didn't dare to directly question the sect master, and her gaze fell on her master. Pu Yinxiang nodded and spoke. That's right, that Ningqing did not have any good intentions. You can take a look at the recording of the monitoring array. After saying that, Pu Yinxiang waved her hand, and a huge array formation monitoring screen appeared on the opposite wall. The array formation monitoring screen recorded the conversation between Ningcheng and several other cultivators when he first entered the Traceless Gate. After the conversation on the array formation monitoring screen ended, Pu Yinxiang spoke up. When that Ningcheng entered the Traceless Gate, he already suspected our Traceless Immortal Pond. Once he got out, he would definitely spread the news. At that time, not to mention my Traceless Immortal Pond's cultivators entering higher-level positional planes, I'm afraid that we would become the enemies of the entire starry sky. Now you don't have to think about that Ningqing anymore. Presumably this person has long since disappeared. Zhai Chuman looked at Sect Master and her master in disbelief. Previously, when her master said that Traceless Immortal Pond had endless wealth, she didn't care about it. She thought that her master meant that Traceless Immortal Pond had so much wealth because it guarded the Traceless Gate. But now, she finally understood what her master meant. Traceless Immortal Pond indeed had so much wealth because it guarded the Traceless Gate. But unlike what she thought, Traceless Immortal Pond's guards were black-hearted, and their wealth wasn't clean. Any cultivator who exposed their wealth in Traceless Immortal Pond would most likely be caught by Traceless Immortal Pond in one fell swoop. As a result, Traceless Immortal Pond had no choice but to become the wealthiest sect. But this wasn't the most shocking news Zhai Chuman heard. When Zhai Chuman couldn't believe it, Pu Yinxiang continued, Chuman, because you lost in the Traceless Gate, you still don't know many things. Now that you've advanced to the eternal realm, you will have to give up the position of sacred lady. Then, like me, you will become the decision-maker of traceless immortal pond. Wu Yuankong looked at Zhai Chuman softly and said, Man, after dual cultivation with me, you can rest assured and go into secluded cultivation. I will let you successfully reach Tao-confirming realm. And then, only then did Zhai Chuman wake up. She even forgot about Traceless Immortal Pond's black shop and asked in surprise, Master, you mean? Pu Yinxiang nodded. Yes, Chuman. All sacred ladies of Traceless Immortal Pond must have dual cultivation with Sect Master. You're not the first, nor will you be the last. Zhai Chuman froze. She finally understood why her master was the last sacred lady, and why she stayed in secluded cultivation with Sect Master. She also finally understood why she cultivated that extremely weird pure Yin cultivation method from the beginning. It turned out that it was to serve Sect Master. Pu Yinxiang's voice suddenly reached Zhai Chuman's ears. Chuman, the cultivation method we cultivate actually has another name, called wedding dress. Master is sorry that I didn't tell you immediately, but after dual cultivation with Sect Master, we still have a chance to reach Tao-confirming realm. Wedding dress, wedding dress. Zhai Chuman finally understood. No wonder she always felt that her cultivation method was a bit weird. It turned out that her cultivation method was a wedding dress. Pu Yinxiang sighed and stood up. She was about to leave. Sect Master wanted to dual cultivate with her disciple, and let her disciple's wedding dress technique serve Sect Master. She didn't want to stay here and watch. Although she knew that she was doing it for her disciple's sake, Chuman wouldn't understand it and she couldn't understand it. Zhai Chuman trembled. She would never allow this to happen. Her cultivation method might be a wedding dress, but she wouldn't marry a sect master of such a sect. When she heard about Traceless Immortal Pond's actions, she felt endless disappointment in her heart. She was a person with her own principles. If not, she would have already killed Ningqing back at Traceless Gate, and taken away the so-called Traceless Gate's position-indicating artifact from Ningqing. In fact, not only did she not do it, but she also stopped Bianzhua from doing it. She didn't even take away the spiritual grasses from Ningqing. If replaced by most cultivators, they probably wouldn't have done what she did. When she advanced to the eternal realm, she vaguely felt that there was something wrong with her cultivation method. Every time she went into seclusion, she would subconsciously change her cultivation method slightly according to her body. In fact, she didn't gain nothing over the years. Given some time, she could turn the wedding dress technique into her own cultivation method, and she wouldn't have to marry someone else. But if Sect Master wanted to dual cultivate with her, all of this would turn into nothingness. But how could she object? Sect Master had saved her life, and everything she had was nurtured by Traceless Immortal Pond. Boom! A loud explosion shook the entire room, and Wu Yuankong stood up with a shocked look on his face. In just a breath, his figure flickered and disappeared from the room. Something happened to Traceless Immortal Pond. Pu Yinxiang and Zhai Chuman immediately understood. However, Zhai Chuman didn't care about what happened to Traceless Immortal Pond, and Pu Yinxiang didn't care too much about it. Traceless Immortal Pond was the largest Starry Sky sect in Demon Domain. Even if something happened to it, it wouldn't be too big. Master, why did you do this? Zhai Chuman looked at Pu Yinxiang and asked slowly. Pu Yinxiang sighed, but her eyes didn't show guilt, but helplessness. Chuman, believe in Master's words. After dual cultivating with Sect Master, cultivate well. Watching her master walk out, Zhai Chuman's eyes showed a hint of sadness. Although she had been trapped in Traceless Gate for so many years, her master's position in her heart had always been irreplaceable. One could say that without her master, there would be no Zhai Chuman. The roar outside grew louder and louder, and Zhai Chuman suddenly felt a little more expectation in her heart. She couldn't understand her own feelings, but she still walked out. Maybe Wu Yuankong walked too fast and didn't care about the restrictions around his cave. Or maybe Wu Yuankong didn't worry about Zhai Chuman leaving Traceless Immortal Pond. Maybe no one could leave Traceless Immortal Pond without his permission. Who the hell are you? As soon as Zhai Chuman came out, she heard the terrifying roar of her sect master. She immediately froze. Traceless Immortal Pond's beautiful traceless public square had turned into a complete mess. A few immortal-like waterfalls were completely smashed into pieces. Fallen cultivators littered the messy public square. Among these fallen cultivators, even the late-stage Eternal Elder Juyang, who had come to greet her, was among them. Elder Qiansong still had a breath. She sat on the edge of the messy public square and looked at Ningcheng with soulless eyes. She seemed to want to say something, but in the end, she didn't say anything and fell to the ground dead. If these weren't the most terrifying things, then what made Jai Chuman's face turn pale was that 8 of the 9 heaven-connecting array gate pillars that symbolized Traceless Immortal Pond had collapsed. No wonder Traceless Immortal Pond erupted with such a terrifying roar. Someone had smashed the 8 heaven-connecting array gate pillars of Traceless Immortal Pond. One had to know that these 9 heaven-connecting array gate pillars symbolized Traceless Immortal Pond's status. Besides Traceless Immortal Pond, no other sect could arrange these heaven-connecting array gate pillars. A young man in blue robes with a calm expression stood among the shattered heaven-connecting array gate pillars and the debris of the public square. He spoke up with a flat tone. "My name is Ningcheng." "Ningcheng, what hatred does my Traceless Immortal Pond have with you? You want to destroy all the heaven-connecting array gate pillars of my Traceless Immortal Pond, you?" Wu Yuankong's face turned blue, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He hadn't expected that Ningcheng was the cultivator Traceless Immortal Pond wanted to kill. Ningcheng showed a slight smile, and the celestial rainbow purgatory spear in his hand shot out again. The violent celestial essence within the long spear caused the surrounding space to explode with ka-ka sounds. Although there was nothing in the void except for air, Ningcheng's spear gave people the feeling that many things in front of it had directly split apart. The celestial rainbow purgatory spear's violent celestial essence slammed into the only remaining heaven-connecting array gate pillar, and another shocking collapse sound erupted. Boom! The heaven-connecting array gate pillar collapsed with a loud bang, and dust splashed everywhere. Ningcheng held the celestial rainbow purgatory spear and looked at Wu Yuankong, who was trembling with anger. He said calmly, "Now, I'm going to blow up all the heaven-connecting array gate pillars of your Traceless Immortal Pond." "You're wrong." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.